Hi, everybody. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of Fabrically Speaking Live. I have a complete mess on my table, and that is because, well, sewing is messy, isn't it? I'm going to go ahead and talk about free motion embroidery today. Have any of you ever tried free motion embroidery on your own before? Trying to get to the comments. There we go. By the way, Lorinda Leonard, you're the winner of last week's giveaway. And I need you to respond in the school. I sent you a message inside of Create with Clare Rowley. You may not have all of your notifications turned on, and that would be why you did not get my message. And it kind of sparked a new way of getting handling the giveaways. And this week I will be giving away 6 spools of our embroidery thread to go along with this giveaway, and a spool of or roll of our stick and tear stabilizer, so that you have a little bit extra than comes with the kit. If you have yet to purchase our Octi-Hoops, know that we have had a drastic reduction in price of the Octi-Hoops. 2021 is looking up. You had to remove a needle out of your finger, Lorinda? Oh my goodness. Anybody else have that happen to them? Well, there's a lot more of you on today. Hi, Betty from Georgia. Paula, look, your names are showing up. You guys are getting better at this. Hi, Susan. And Red Dog Mama again. Nice to see you regulars showing up. Hi, Tony McLeod. Welcome. Well, you used to have to do free motion and put your fingers really close to the sewing machine needle, because you have to be the foot holding the fabric down. Most of the traditional hoops just kind of don't make the fabric taut enough. And I was going to have all these things ready, but, well, we're building a brand new creativefeet.com behind the scenes. And I was going to bring in a little sewing machine so that you could see that you can do it on a smaller machine. But there's an episode every week. So I will probably be doing that very soon, bringing out some of my other painted machines, the smaller ones, so that you guys don't think you have to have a big, enormous machine like I have on my table right now. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Jamie. Hi, everyone. Everything's working efficiently. Isn't this nice? You've had the Octi-Hoops since they first came out, Mary. And if you haven't used them yet, know that you're not alone. There are a lot of people that have been afraid to try them, and that's partly because of all the stress that you guys went through when trying to do free motion on your own without our hoops. So I'm going to help you guys understand what makes them different. And you can see I got some show and tell on here. We are currently sold out of one of the stabilizers that comes with the Octi-Hoops. Now, we still have it included in the kits when you purchase one. Hi, Dolores, Massachusetts. I got minky fuzz floating around in the air because I intend to show you how I'm going to monogram on minky for my Tinkerbell sweatshirt. And I'm going to try it with, instead of our stick and rinse, so you're going to see live for the first time me using our Hold Light stabilizer for creating a colored template to put on the fabric to embroider through. And this camera to the side here, I think it's just going to have to get replaced. It just won't stay on. So it's kind of frustrating. I don't know. Let me see if I can switch to it. Because if I can switch back and forth, then I can show you something easier. But we definitely have at least 2 cameras. I will be sewing with my cell phone setup so you can really see what I'm doing. So I'm going to see if I can switch to this other camera. I think it was just like off. Yeah, it just doesn't want to be here. But I will adapt. With the Octi-Hoops, you have the ability to embroider something really tiny on something really big. Tinkerbell's running. She has a new setup with the new minky fabric because I'm going to teach you guys how to make a dog bed coming up soon on Fabrically Speaking. Now, one of the things that I really found this cool for was this pony that you see here. And this is a pattern that I used to make before I became a sewing machine mechanic. I used to make ponies, and so I'm reintroducing this pattern. And it's a pony. Hi Mary, I miss seeing you at Road to California too. They just stopped having us in. They said we didn't add enough variety to the show. So that was their reasoning, and it's their show. So, but now I have my show, and we'll probably be doing live things once the virus settles down and we can get back to normal. So that's partly why I created my school, was so that I could be more involved in your lives and easier to reach. For those of you who've already accessed the school and also maybe spent time with me on the phone or on a Zoom chat, know that it's, with new technology and you guys not being chicken to use your own cameras, you can actually see some of the stuff. So I'm going to get to the actual embroidery part, and because I don't want to bore anyone that watches this on the replay. This is a remake of my dog Tinkerbell's bunny. And when you make stuffed animals, generally you use buttons for eyes, but on a dog, you can't have anything that could be chewed off and then choked on. So I created this bunny and I embroidered the little eyes on the minky, and I did so, and even though the nap of the fabric is really fluffy, you can see those eyes because we use our cover up on top, which is these multicolored vinyls that are just the right texture and just the right thickness to embroider through, and then they tear away clean. And we're going to go ahead, and I will be using this today, but these are brand new, so I'm going to put them aside. Whenever I do a giveaway, if you already have the items that I am showing, then you can negotiate with me on the phone or via email to get other items for the same dollar value. Hi, Tracy from Northeast Pennsylvania. Okay. You can use the Octi-Hoops to monogram on towels, and this is one of the towels that I used a font inside of the computer. That's the same thing I did here. I used the font, a standard font that was in my computer, and I just made it really big on the screen and then printed it right on top of the stabilizer, and that's what I'll use to monogram Tinkerbell's sweater that I made last week. So if you missed last week's episode, I taught how to make this little sweatshirt out of minky, and you can see she's wearing one right now on her, and it's a better fitting one. This one was a little bit big for her. These monograms look like they were done with a zigzag stitch, but they were done with a straight stitch. So we can actually make believe or make our machine behave like an embroidery machine using the Octi-Hoops. This is a blouse that did not have any pattern on this side, and then I printed out a sticker, and I use a different color ink generally when I do that. So if you have a color printer, it's nice to be able to do that. If you don't have a color printer, you can use markers and write on our stabilizers as well, and then put them on your fabric. So you can copy anything that you may have, a coloring book, for instance. And what you see right behind me is my mother's Valentine quilt. And what she did is she actually used a coloring book, and she traced the coloring book designs using a light source, a window, or I think she had a light box, but she didn't have a snazzy light tablet like this one right here. But you can take and put any design that you find anywhere, and you can put it on one of the light tablets, lay your fabric on top, and just draw using the friction pins or Sharpie markers. You can also color through your fabrics or your paper. This is like a coloring book that I found online, and you can print them out. This is not a copyright violation. They actually provide the coloring book pages for you to print out and color when you're home, and you're the one using your ink. And then you can trace over that onto our stabilizers or directly onto your fabric, because with the light tablet you can see through fabric. This is one of my most popular samples that I had at a show, and it's been handled so much that the fabric that I sewed it on is starting to degrade, but the thread itself is in perfect condition. And one of the questions I get asked a lot is, can you embroider bigger than the biggest hoop? And you actually can. I'm going to have to show you how we get the fabric on the hoop, because you can see that it's a single ring and the fabric doesn't have anything to attach to. So we're going to use the stick and tear to attach the fabric to it. After you fill in the entire inner area of a hoop, you can then pull it off, reapply another piece of the stick and tear, and then simply move the design up and then continue embroidering. So you can imagine how big you can go. You can really embroider as large as you can handle around your sewing machine. And the mess I have, I can't handle a very big design today. So let's see. You can also take fabric. This is one of Lorelei's design fabrics. She also sells embroidery designs, but she also sells her fabric. So in essence, she has supplied you with an embroidery design to embroider through, and that's what you see up there, the dog in that hoop right there. And then you'll see flounder. I think that's flounder. Is it flounder? I'm pretty sure that's flounder. And that was a coloring book that I used to create the flounder actual design. So I'm going to move this keyboard out of the way. That's something I never thought I'd ever say when filming live. We'll just put it in the drawer. Here we go. So I was going to have this area from above, and, well, going to have to buy another camera. This is a wedding veil that I embroidered directly on. And it, if you can see it better with the dark color behind it, it looks as though I actually have some lace there, but I didn't. And if I don't forget to do this episode, I'm probably going to just dedicate one whole episode of Fabrically Speaking to wedding veil, to embroidering this wedding veil. So that'll be coming up. With the Octi-Hoops, you have the ability to embroider on any item. Little t-shirts, onesies. I'm going to embroider on a bib today as well. So if you have any grandchildren or great-grandchildren or your own children and you want to embroider on a bib and it's stretchy and you can get it ruined by hooping it in between two hoops, we're going to be able to do that here. We can also embroider through baseball caps. This is actually a video already on my YouTube channel on how to embroider on baseball caps. So, yep. And this is a design that you can print out. If you go to the Octi-Hoop page at creativefeet.com, there's patterns, and you can click on it, and they're basically just a PDF pattern, and it prints out a design on your paper when you at your house. So you hit print, and then it prints the design on the paper. Then you can take and trace that onto your fabric or onto our stabilizers and apply that to your garment and sew immediately. I will be doing, as I promised many shows, I've promised that I will teach the entire eagle, and that will be a whole class, and that would be taught inside of Create with Clare Rowley, my free online school, and it will be one of your paid classes. Back in the day, and you want to know what day? These have dates on them because I always date everything. I was teaching free motion embroidery, and this was a variety, or a few of them that I did. So this is 1983, and we used to mount do the embroidery on organza, and then we would cut the applique or the design out, and then we would stitch it on. So on the back, you see how there's no thread right there. And that is because the fabric would become completely distorted from the embroidery process, from putting the fabric in between two rings and stretching the fabric out of shape. It's different to embroider with an embroidery machine than it is to embroider with a regular sewing machine. This one got chewed up by a dog, but still really cool. So you can see how creative you can be with this. These are classes that people used to take from me. And then and you can see this one, once again, there's nothing on the back. And so you embroider, and then you would wash and dry the thread, because we didn't have polyester thread. We had cotton thread, and cotton shrinks. So we had to actually shrink, wash, and dry a couple times the embroidery before we could put it on a shirt. And the shirt had to be also pre-shrunk. This was one of the designs I designed, and this was one of our most popular classes. And this is done in a 2-step embroidery process, because it simply ends up being too much thread. And the actual seagull is higher on the surface than the background. All right, enough of this show and tell stuff. We'll get the pony out of the way. All right. Hi, Susan from Tasmania, Australia. Isn't this cool? We're all together even though we're on different parts of the planet. Hi, Donna. And Marilyn, yes, I remember you very well. You weren't the one that brought your lunch once, because the second time I did Martha Pullen's show, one of the ladies called me up and she said, "Do you mind if I sit in your booth all day?" And I'm like, okay. But she actually sat in my booth all 3 days, brought her lunch every day, had her own chair, and just sat with me. And it's because of her that I created the technical video on our creative feet. Because I said, why do you feel that you need to sit here when I have the book? And she said, well, because I'm a visual learner, and we all really are. So it was because of her I created the video, Creative Feet Techniques, which is available at creativefeet.com. Some of you have actually joined the school, and you've selected to become part of the Creative Feet Extensive. And I know right now I'm showing embroidery, and some of you are probably going, what is she talking about feet for? I'm the inventor of Creative Feet, and I'm also the inventor of the Octi-Hoops, which is what I'm going to show you today. And I usually have a kit to show you what's included, but we sold out of all the kits. And we're making more, so don't worry if you've got orders in. But we just had a massive run on the hoops because we lowered the price. They've never been this low. And I'm very, very excited to be able to finally offer them at a price where even children can actually participate. And this is something that kids can do. So if you have a grandchild and you want to help them become more creative and get them into doing embroidery, you don't have to worry about your sewing machine getting broken, and you don't have to worry about them sewing through their fingers, because you have 2 handles that come with the Octi-Hoops. Let me find a hoop. There we go. Oh, I just had so much show and tell to show you, but there's not enough time for all of that. Okay. You can even print your dog's picture out. To not waste the stabilizer, you'd print on the paper first, then tape our stick and tear or stick and rinse stabilizer when it's back in stock. And it will be. This is delayed because of COVID. We were supposed to have it last September, and so this is the longest we've been sold out of our stick and rinse stabilizer. I'm very sorry about that. Know that we are working hard to get it back in stock, and we do depend on different manufacturers within the United States to manufacture different parts of it, and it's their companies that are slowing down the release of it. As soon as we can get it back, I'm going to announce it all over the place. Hi, Larry. Did I say it right? Larry. All right. You think you're figuring it out? It'll get easier. At shows, I usually show this messy, different techniques, but instead I'm going to actually take the time, because you're not standing around a table in a hurry to get to the next booth. I'm going to actually take the time and finish some of these embroidery projects right before your eyes, live, so you know that I can't be fooling you and pretending nothing went wrong. There may be some of you here today that were part of a class that I taught with 120 people. R. Brainard, I can't remember your first name, but I recognize that last name. Hi, Sally. This was the class that I taught. It was Under the Sea with Clare Rowley, and we all embroidered on an apron, and you can see the apron there. So just a little design like that can end up looking really rich. Is there anything else in here? This is my show folder where I would pull out things, and you can see I've got different stickers and another eagle. I'm actually ready to do that eagle. If you don't have a software program that lets you bring in designs, then you can print out. Where's that one? Okay. You take a piece, you bring up things on your computer screen, and your screen is more of a landscape. So you really don't know where on your piece of paper something that's on your screen up here is going to print out. So you first print on the paper, and then you know where everything on the page is going to print. And then you take a piece of our stick and rinse stabilizer, and in this case I'm using our hold light. Now the difference between stick and rinse is it will rinse completely away, and the hold light will stay inside of the embroidery. I'll be doing that for the first time, and the only way I could get the ink to set was to blow dry it. So you'll have to blow dry it. If it's an alternative though, for those of you who want to do more embroidery right now, and we'll see how well it works. I have a feeling it's going to go really well. So after you tape a piece of our stick and rinse over it again, then you run it back through your inkjet printer, and then you've only printed stickers that you actually want to print, and you don't end up printing writing that's on the page. Does that make sense? If it does, raise your hand if you're on YouTube, and if you're on Facebook, well, you got lots of options in there. Some in my software program, I can just throw butterflies on the page, and so I have pages of butterflies. These are patterns that you can print out on our website. So you can also have a whole page of butterflies. This is the flounder that I did. There'll be children watching, and they'll be going, "That's not Nemo, that's Flounder. She doesn't know her cartoons." Okay, enough of that. This is the paper that I printed out, and I just need a hoop. What do you do when you have too many hoops? Some of you call these pegs, and some of you call them handles, and some of you call them crayons, and know that they are handles on our website. We call them replacement handles for all of you that put them somewhere safe and then can't remember where you put them. And they drop into the top of all of these. Now the original Octi-Hoops had looser handles than these, and so this is the new version, and I've since made them tighter. If any of you have a really old version of our hoops and you have any trouble using them, just please reach out, because I want you to be as happy as everybody else is with theirs. The stick and tear is the one with a frog on it, and in order to attach your fabric to the hoop, you need some of our frog. Where did the roll go that I had already open? This is the same stabilizer that we use to make masks, and it is an air filter material. Now I don't need a very big hoop because I'm going to be monogramming on Tinkerbell's sweater, and it's a very small outfit. You've been looking for a butterfly pattern to quilt? Just now realize that all the butterflies you can find online, Susan, you can print on your computer if you have a printer. And if you don't have a printer, well, you can bring it up on your computer screen and you could trace right on your screen, but be careful what you use to trace with. Now you could use the rotary cutter and cut around the Octi-Hoop, but I find that you waste stabilizer doing that. So I usually just draw a line around the Octi-Hoop. And know that this is patchable. So if I do a small dog eye and I pull the fabric away, I'll have a little dog eye hole there. So even this small little corner that I'm going to cut off is something that could be used to patch a small embroidery design. So this is the only patchable adhesive back tearaway stabilizer on the market. And when we ran out, which happens every once in a while, we actually tried everybody else's stabilizer in hopes of at least being able to supply you something, and none of them passed. None of them held onto the hoop well enough. They gummed up your needle. So there's a reason why this stabilizer is so good. You loved using them for your masks, Dolores? Isn't it nice to know that you have that extra protection in there? And if you did make a mask with the stabilizer inside of the mask, it's only on the front facing fabric. You only put it on the front, not on the back and the front. For those of you who tend to not read directions. It's good for you to say that because I think there's someone lurking. They say they lurk. They don't show themselves. Be nice to know how many people are watching and not commenting. But remember, you don't get to enter for the giveaway if you don't comment. And you'll notice now that I have you guys join our newsletter. You have to be a member of my newsletter in order to get your prize. And that's because someone tried to take a prize of someone else's. So we have a release liner on one side, and it's waxy. It's a wax paper, kind of like freezer paper, but much more stable. You can actually cut that out and print on it with an inkjet printer, and the ink will stay on the surface, allowing you then to lay carefully a piece of fabric over it and then iron, and you can transfer your ink from your inkjet printer in an instant using that. It can be a little messy. It's something that's handy to have another person around to help you. So one of you can hold the paper down and the other one sets the fabric down. And as soon as it's set down, well, then you just iron it with your iron, and it permanently gets that inkjet ink onto your fabric. Yikes! Who's yikes? There's no name there. What did I say that deserved a yikes? Oh, somebody trying to take the prize? Yeah. I thought that was pretty brazen. Hi, Gracie. You're at work? Shh. I won't tell. So I peeled back the release liner by folding back the corner first. Let me see if I can switch to this camera. Give you guys a good, I don't know if you really need it. It seems like this is actually a pretty good angle. But just in case, I'm going to go ahead and double it up. My son just popped up on my screen here. Yes, I'm doing the show. Are you doing the show? He has good faith in me that I can do the show and text him at the same time. So this is the release liner, and as I mentioned before, I just kind of fold it back like this. And then it kind of starts to separate a little bit, allowing you to... Everything's easier when I don't have to do it with a cell phone in front of my face. There we go. Usually I don't even look at it while I do it, so this should not be harder. So you're just kind of creasing it just to get it going here. Come on, Claire. There we go. And then after you do that, you pull back and then fold the release liner like that. And this is cut for the smallest of the Octi-Hoops. There we go. Are you guys all happy today? Feeling good knowing it's 2021? Laurie, you get 3 feet of the stick and tear stabilizer in your kit. It's wrapped around the cardboard square when you get it. So basically what we want to do is we want to line up. There we go, like that. And then you rub with your thumb to get it secure. Got thread getting involved. Then you go to the opposite end, and with the hoop flat on a table, you then pull up. Now my friend Terry, who only has use of one hand, she was able to do this with only one hand. I'm probably going to have her come over again just so we can figure out how she did it. I don't think we taped it to anything. I think we did something like had something in front of her that kept the hoop from sliding, that allowed her to hoop that, or to get it taut. And I found her embroidery the other day because I didn't let her keep it. Yes, you can watch this video again and again and pause me and rewind me. So you can see how what I'm doing is being able to reposition. That's one of the qualities of this. This is a polyester material. It's not paper. So there's a lot of paper product out there, and paper, what does paper do? Paper dulls your needle, and it also doesn't hold up after washings. You can hear this. That's how taut it is. You want to make sure that there's no wrinkles around the inner perimeter, and I can see that there is one right there. See how that's a little baggy? So we can go ahead and pull it up and get rid of that. Should I do the minky shirt first or the bib? Oh, the bib is what I was going to end with, because I'm going to do this parrot on the bib. Isn't that cute? And there's a whole set of eyes that I designed so that you guys can make your own stuffed animals and put pretty eyes on. This is one of the dolphin designs that I did. So we'll do the minky first because, should we? I'm going to do this first because I can patch it. This doesn't require, it won't get lint all over the sticky part. See how well that holds? Now, because this is a stretch material, if you were to stretch that in between two rings, it would be very difficult to not actually stretch the bib as well. I'm going to have to turn on the iron at some point. And I usually have an iron here, and I remembered that Caterpillar has a glass, and I have it. There it is. It's a little dirty from inking. But you can, and they told me, they're like, you can iron on our glass. Did you know that? I'm like, no, I did not know that. So we will do that. Because sometimes you just can't move the iron over here. Sounds like a drum. A drum head. Okay, here we go. It's scary to put a hot iron on top of my beautiful Caterpillar light tablet. But the owner and inventor of this is the one that told me I could do it, so I'm going to believe him. And we're going to actually iron. I'm a little bit too far that way for this split screen. If I were on, I think I need to switch them. But I can't do that easily. All right, don't need that. We need the hold light. I don't want to open a new one. I think I already have a couple of them open. This is in stock. The thread dispensers have run out, but that doesn't mean we can't make more. It's just going to delay getting them if you've ordered one in the last few days. I think Lorinda, you are, or why do I want to say that? Laurie. I'm ruining your name, aren't I? So on this Tinkerbell sweater, I'm going to have to put hold light on the back of this minky. And I'm going to set them both up now so I don't have to return to the iron several times. So I'm just going to cut a piece a little bit bigger than the actual embroidery design that I'm going to do. And I'm actually monogramming Tink for those of you who joined us later. So it just has to be bigger than Tink on there. She was sound asleep a little while ago, and I mean, I was like right next to her and I had to tap her to wake her up. I felt so bad. Bye, Gracie. Work calls you. Okay, so on this, there's a shiny side and a not shiny side. And thankfully, the shiny side is supposed to go to the fabric, which means that the reflection of the light won't be shining back into your eyes when you use this. And we're going to, I just got to figure out where I'm going to put it. And wherever you want to put the name. The whole point of, part of the reason I like my stick and rinse so much is that it holds down our cover up. And if your head is spinning because of all the names of the different stabilizers, know that, you know, we have the stabilizers that we developed to make it so that you have a really good experience with your embroidery. So if I want to put this on this sweater, and it was a water soluble stabilizer, once it washes, the stabilizer would disappear and it will no longer hold the fur down beneath the thread. I hope this works really well, but it's a lot harder to handle than our stick and rinse is. What do I do with mine? There we go. In our blending pack, we have pink. Oh, that's primary. I have 2 primary packs. What's up with that? Do I have any pink in here? Okay. Oh, I hate to open a brand new thing just for me. So we have 2 different shades of pink in this. We have a really bright pink, purple, brown, and this would be for any shade of brown, even into maroon, and burgundies, and then we got dark teal and gray for your silvers and gray tones of thread. And what this does is if you are an embroidery machine user, you don't have to digitize your designs as dents, which makes it better for a shirt. So if you're going to embroider on a t-shirt, if you've ever had holes appear on the edge of your embroidery, simply because the needle destroyed the poor little defenseless t-shirt. This is our cover-up. It has a panda bear on the label. So you don't have to remember all the names. You just have to remember the character that goes with it. If you don't see a character on the label, it's not ours. So this is our cover-up, and it comes in rolls as well. You can get, this is the same stabilizer I used to do the bowl cover. The vinyl is really good quality. Hi, Lisa. I always remember your name. See how static cling this is? So I would say that our stick and rinse is not as clingy as this is. But this could just be because I live in Arizona. To make sure that that embroidery lifts up above the nap of this, it'll look a lot better if I have our cover up beneath our hold light. That's a lot to say. So I don't need a very big piece, do I? I just need a little bit, like that much. If my son thinks I'm going to hold a text conversation while filming, You guys can say, hi, Vincent. You should fold it up and put it back in the bag so you know what it is. So later on, you're not going, what is this? I don't remember why I have that. So now you can see I have that covering that. And now I'm going to iron it on to the actual sweater. And this makes it so you know where on the garment you're going to embroider. If any of you've done embroidery on using a regular embroidery machine, that's one of the challenges, is getting the design lined up exactly where you want it. Right? Go ahead and do a thumbs up if you have embroidered something and it ended up being a little crooked. Having a sticker on the fabric before you work with an embroidery machine is also just as beneficial. So this is going to go on the back of the t-shirt, which is the same stuff that's on the top. And this is a first time trying this. Turn the iron on. If you've ever used minky before, it's so scary to have that iron over my cutting table. Uh-oh. Well, I'm very discombobulated today. This goes on to the silk setting. And I will show you that that is correct here. So on my iron, I push this button to select my setting. I've done it on synthetic as well, but silk doesn't melt it or anything. We don't want to use a real high temperature on minky. Everything got stuck to the stick and tear. So on this little sweater, I fold it in half to find the center of the actual sweater. And that'll help me. Do I want the name up high or do I want it down low? This is a decision I have to make. I don't know. Should I have it on? I feel like putting it here. And now that I know what center is, and you can mark that with a pen if you like. And you're going to take and you could also fold this in half as well so that you know that you're centered. This is a dog thing. So I'm not as worried. You'd also want to measure from the bottom, from like the edge of, if this were a towel, you would want to measure from the bottom up to the bottom of the letters and make sure that it is parallel, that it's straight before you take it to the iron. I'm going to take it down like that. There we go. Shiny side up. My brain. I know. Oh, shiny side to the fabric. I'm like, I know I did it right. I thought. I actually was careful. Something down low. Oh, you were right. I'm agreeing with you. Shiny side to the fabric. No, shiny side to the iron. I did it wrong, you guys. I did it wrong. Bummer. Oh well, my first mistake on my live show. No, it's not. Did any of you watch one of my shows where I made a bunch of mistakes? Let's see here. So instead, I'm going to wing it because I'm not going to go print again. And I'm going to write her name using the lines on this to help me try to write it straight. So T-I-N-K. Okay. Did I do it wrong again? I did. Shiny side to the iron. It doesn't, my mind does not like the sound of that the shiny side is to the iron, so that's what's going on here. Okay, tink. What's the fabric on the stick and tear called? Okay, here we go. And now it's just a little touch on the iron. I usually don't iron on film just because there's so much on my table. So the problem with using a hot iron is you would melt the minky. So you can see that's held in place, and this is held in place over it. Did I do it very straight? At this point, I don't even care if it's straight. Looks pretty good. So now I'm going to take another piece of the hold light and put it on the bottom, because that is what we usually use this for, is to back your fabric to keep it from stretching, and also to stop it from getting damaged from when you try to pull it off of the stick and tear. I'm also going to put a little piece behind the bib, and we're going to do the bib first. I'm going to turn this. It's like so clingy. I have problems with thread in Arizona too, sticking to me. Tink won't care. Oh, she won't care. It's only me that'll care. And nobody's going to be seeing it anyway, because it's not like I'm bringing it to a show this week. Make sure there's no hair in there or thread. So you can see how instantly, so it's loose right there, and it's just a whoop, real light touch, real quick, and it's stuck to the fabric. And what it does is it stops the fabric from stretching now. It has no stretch. In case I didn't say that enough times. Could definitely iron it a little bit more on the top. I'm trying to make it so you guys can see. I'm also a little worried because I have ink up there. Whoopsie. Did you guys enjoy the ride? I may have to use our stick and rinse. This is a trial to see if our hold light will work in place of stick and rinse while we're have a shortage of it. It's hot in here. So where am I going to put the parrot? On the bib. And you can see you got your lines on your board beneath it, and you can see to make sure that it's straight. Another time when you would want to fold it in half to find center, and then press. And this is a pretty big design, and I'm looking forward to doing it. I looked for videos on free motion embroidery on YouTube, and I couldn't find very many where you got to actually learn. They were more just showing. Ah, that's loud. That's the glass. So this is the parrot. Isn't he cute? See, and I just found him online today. Shiny side to the iron. So what's going to happen here is this ink is going to actually be touching the fabric. Shiny side to the iron. I say that every time I use it too. Shiny side to the iron, because I certainly do, just something about it makes me not want to do it. Does that look like a good position on the bib? So I got to move it to the glass. It really does work. It's amazing. No fabric under there, just glass. And it works like an ironing board. Pretty cool. And that's probably adequate. And the reason I don't feel the need to put the hold light on the backside of the bib is because it's not furry and fuzzy, and it won't end up making this not as sticky. So you can already see some of the minky coming off on the stick and tear. So I'm going to do this guy first. And unlike an embroidery machine, you don't have to worry about how you lay it out onto the hoop. You can just put it on the hoop any old way. And then you just rub, making sure you're on a smooth surface. And then you got to pick what colors you're going to do. Now, if you want, you can actually color on this first so that you don't accidentally forget what you're doing and do the wrong color in the wrong area. Although I'm not going to put that color there. I thought parrots usually have a darker beak, so I don't know. Should I do whatever I feel like? This is going to be the feet. See how fun this is? Can you imagine having grandkids help you with this? It's so fun. So the Sharpie marker, when the stick and rinse, when you have actually stick and rinse, it washes right down the drain. It doesn't adhere to the material. So if you want to do, I was thinking about pink because it's a little girl bib. I was thinking about pink for the little crest up here, and then maybe a little lavender or blue around here. And then you can also plan or plot the direction that you're going to move the hoop based on where it is. So you'll be moving the hoop in that direction instead of going straight across, so that it ends up forming a shape. Well, I'm just going to embroider and show you. Yay, finally, right? The colors are the hard part. That's why having a design that already has the colors in it, like my butterfly design, will be helpful to you. You'll be able to just print it right out. And this would have printed better on the cover, on the stick and rinse. I had to blow dry it and it kind of made the colors smear. Okay, time to put the iron away. And get to the fun part. And I can tell you this, I am not lying. This is like one of my most favorite things to do of all art forms. I have always found it really, really fun. I was going to show you the bunny eyes up close. See how even it's a really tiny, see, it's a small, I have really small fingernails. So that is the size of my pinky nail. And that would be really, really difficult to do through all this fur. Where is that minky? I don't know where that is. That's a really good one. That would have been fun for the last project I did. Here we go. There's nothing like talking to yourself. Hi, Maureen. Doing this one first. Okay. Now I want to use that color, but let's see. That one kind of looks like it. Oh, I can do this. I can do this for the body and that for the crest, huh? Thumbs up if you agree. And then I can do bright yellow. I have all these colors to choose from. But what do we do when we do free motion? We take the foot off. I gotta get my son to stop. I'm using my cell to film. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to take the presser foot off the machine. And I'm going to also remove, I'm going to try not to make you guys nauseous here when I move this. No, I don't want to leave. There we go. I'm going to loosen and remove the screw that holds this assembly on. And this assembly is the sewing machine company's snap-on adapter. And this is their idea of a screwdriver for it. Oh, you all like my color choices. That's cool. I think that's why you're thumbs upping me. You get to see me get a little flaky every week on Thursday. So now I'm going to put this back. And where do I keep this? I keep it on the threads holder up here because I use my thread dispenser to bring thread to the sewing machine. I don't put thread on the actual post on the machine. What you use in the bobbin, I pretty much have... Did I bring them in here? Yeah. Generally when I do embroidery, especially if you have lots of different color changes, I have a white, a gray, and a black. And I'll switch the bobbin to one that is the closest to the color tone so that if any of the bobbin thread comes up to the top, it doesn't show as much. Rather than changing every color of thread and making a bobbin for every color of thread. And know that these are the new Deco Bob bobbins that we offer at Creative Feet. And they're 80 weight thread, so this bobbin will outlast your regular thread on a bobbin. And we want a thinner thread in the bobbin because if you don't, as you add thread and it starts to pile up, it becomes thicker. And so this allows us to lay more thread on the top without overburdening the material. It's a better way of putting it. And I have a pink thread on the machine. We decided on these, right? Doesn't that make the parrot a boy? Maybe I'll do pink. I changed my mind. I'm a girl. Guess what? I could also do glow in the dark thread. And somebody that just bought a bunch of this from me is quilting a quilt for her grandson, and she's quilting using the glow in the dark thread. So when the light turns out, his quilt will glow. Isn't that a cool idea? Use pink. I agree. So I was thinking about filming that. Which one for the body? The light pink, dark pink for the body, or light pink for the body? Hurry. 1, 2, 3. Nobody answered, so I'm going to do light pink for the body. And since this is a pastel-y color, I'll be using a white bobbin. But I already have a pink bobbin in the machine, so I'm just going to leave it in. That's because that's what I used for Tinkerbell's sweater. And anything I cannot do, the better, because I have all this equipment right in front of me. I'm so quiet when I have to think. I have a needle threader that I wanted to show you, and know that we're going to be adding it to creativefeet.com. See if I can find it easily. For those of you who don't have a needle threader on your machine, where is it? Darn it. I'll have to show it next week, I guess. We don't have them in stock yet anyway. You can't even order it. But know that I have something that works really good for those of you who don't have a needle threader. Even if you're completely blind, which some of you may not know that I have a lot of customers that are completely blind, because I invented this Satinedge Foot for a blind and deaf sewer. And if you didn't think blind people sew, well, now you know they do. In fact, I was in Houston, and I was saying the blind can't use the Octi-Hoops, and there was one sitting next to me. She said, "I'm blind and I use your Octi-Hoops," and I'm like, I have no idea how you're doing that. So now I have to learn how to use them blind. I'm not doing that live. You can't make me. But every once in a while, I do close my eyes. Speaking of eyes, I need my magnifying glasses. That's doing a weird wavy look. Do you guys see a wavy look on there? That weird? Let's see. Maybe the light needs to turn off all the way. not very, oh, I forgot this light. Ta-da! That's a little better, huh? Not sure why that's happening. Every week there's something. That microphone kind of weird. And I can't zoom in with the cell phone. So we will be getting a better setup than using the phone. I'll try not to talk too loud in your ear. Where is that going? My goodness. Some of you will really hate seeing me just cut this thread. And I carried my little Appliquick scissors out in another area. First thing you want to do is think, okay, where do I want to start? And I feel like starting there. There's no real rule to it. I need to bring my bobbin thread up and I need to lower the presser foot. And also, so even though this machine appears that the feed dogs are down, the only reason they are down is because the last thing I did was hit the scissor button. If any of you have the ability to cut your thread by hitting the button and having your thread cut, it also doesn't have any bobbin thread sticking out when you're done, or it's a very small amount. This would be a reason why you can't get your thread to come up. So you want to make sure that you start with your thread sticking out, that you don't cut it short. And watch as I bring the needle down and go back up again. See how the feed dogs now engage? Last week I was having trouble with the fabric, just kept sliding out from under the foot, and it's because I forgot that I used the scissor. I try not to even use it because of that. The wavy line is gone. Yeah, it doesn't like some of the types of light that the sewing machine omits. So I have to literally turn the light on the sewing machine off and use another kind of light. These are the joys of learning how to film. So I'm going to now bring my bobbin thread up. And that was the sound. If you didn't hear that, my machine made a little ding ding sound to let me know that I did not have my presser foot down. So even though the bar was down, I had used the foot lift button. So these are all the little things that a computerized machine will make it so that you don't end up with the big bird's nest on the bottom. Have any of you ever done free motion and ended up with a bunch of thread on the bottom? If you have, that is because your foot was up, or this would be something to make notes on. Things that cause the bird nest to appear on the bottom of your work, whether you're quilting or embroidering or sewing at any time. If you get big knots on the bottom, it's because the top thread just kind of fell to the bottom of the fabric. It just went blah. I'm there. There's nothing to hold me, and so that is because the tension discs are open on the top, or you threaded your sewing machine with the foot down. So if the foot is lowered when you thread your machine, the discs are closed, and sometimes then the thread just lays on the outside of your tension discs. In essence, with zero tension, you start to sew and the thread falls to the bottom of the fabric. Another way to have the sorry, I gotta adjust my top here. Another way to have the thread fall to the bottom is to just simply not thread your machine right. There's a take-up lever that goes up and down on the front of your machine, and if it's not in there, it will do the same thing. It'll fall to the bottom. So there's 3 different times when you can create a messy bottom. And I need my glasses. And I'm looking through a space about this big between my between my microphone and my cell phone. So this is working. Now I had drawn those lines to help me to know that that's the direction that I want to move the fabric. Sew a few stitches, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut that thread. Do not leave your tails dangling around. They'll distract you. Okay, here we go. And I don't have to put my fingers there. It's kind of a habit that I have. You could, if you have children in the sewing room, I dropped my other handle. Here we go. It's not a bad idea to have extra handles. There we go. So with children, and even yourself, this is a good way to start, is to hold on with both handles, because then your brain kind of chooses which hand it wants to write with. When we had 127 students at that show, or that class that I taught, 3 out of all of them actually discovered they were left-handed during the class. They took each other's phone numbers down and they were like, look, I can write my name better. And basically, it wasn't that their parent forced them to use the opposite hand. It's that they mirrored their parent and never knew that they were left-handed. Not until they were in their 60s. So this is a good way to figure out which hand your brain likes to use. And then if you say out loud, I'm writing, then you'll move your fingers instead of your whole arm. Remember, I always say, elbows down, shoulders relaxed. It's always your position. I should never say always on anything. I can hear my son in my head. So now I'm going to try to sew without sitting proper. The proper way to sit is straight. Let's see if I can do it. So see how I'm moving the hoop in a circular motion, but I'm doing it with these fingers over here. Hands down on the surface of the machine. And you don't have to go that far when you're learning. It's probably going to be easier for you to move in smaller movements. Think of it as coloring in a coloring book. How would you move your crayon if you were coloring in a coloring book? Like that, right? But see how fast I move the crayon? So you don't want to move the fabric as fast. The balance of how fast you run the machine versus how fast you move your hand is the most challenging part of free motion. With the Octi-Hoops, all of the rest of it just stops being a problem. You don't have a foot in your way, so you can see where you're going. We want to leave the black line so that you know where to put the black thread when you're finished. So I'm going around, because this is how I color in a coloring book. See how slow the machine's going? A lot of you see people at shows really going fast on long arm quilting machines. Then you go home and you think, I need to move my hands really fast, and that is part of your challenge as well. Go as slow as your brain. Your brain is in charge of everything, but we aren't always aware of what our brain is thinking, and our brain isn't always aware of what we're thinking, and it kind of feels like that, doesn't it? Like when you can't find your glasses, even though they're on your head. So when you're doing this, I forgot what I was saying. That's so funny. I forgot what I was saying. It'll come to me. So now, if you say I'm coloring, your brain will stop. If you can see in the left screen, I was doing this. My hand was up, and it should be down. But I'm not left-handed, and that's why it does that. My brain doesn't know what to do with this hand. So I really need to get rid of that, because that's hyperextending your hand, and it can cause cramping in your hand. Just a gentle resting on the fabric. Just really give it something to do, because you don't need 2 hands to embroider. Sometimes I will be embroidering or quilting, and then I do this and just keep going and totally forget, or I'm unaware that I have 2 hands. So this is something that the more you do it, the better you'll get. And you shouldn't put blue underneath your pink thread, because now this is why the cover-up helps so much. If I had pink under there, then I wouldn't have to use as many stitches, and the pink cover-up, the vinyl that we're going to use on this minky, if I had that underneath the parrot, I wouldn't need as many stitches for the parrot either. But it's kind of fun to do a lot of stitching. Now, to make that cover-up more, I can slow down the machine and make bigger movements with this hand here. So I'm creating larger stitches by running the machine slower and moving my hand bigger. And this is something that is hard for me to do it's hard to talk and do this for me. But you'll see how it's covering up a lot better. And it's also easier on the stretch fabric beneath it. And you can't really see that well, can you? Maybe I'll go off split screen and see if you can see better. Maybe I will. Okay, so the problem with that is that the microphone I'm using is connected to the other camera, so I can't do that. I'm hoping you can see well. This is what it's going to be great when I get that new camera. Elbows down, shoulders relax. So this is because that line is curved. I'm going up in a curve. Yes, it's nice to know why the bird's nest comes up, huh? I can't remember your name. My phone should not be making any noise. You can see fine, good. You guys are so easygoing. When I split the screens last week, I split them in a weird way, and I was like, oh, they could have seen so much better if I had realized that I split them in a weird way. So, this is definitely better than last week. To make this easier would have been to use a pink Sharpie marker and color the actual stabilizer in the right color thread, or the right color for the thread. Because this is our hold light. It's permanent. It won't wash out of the garment. So under the embroidery it will stay. And that's important because when you wash something you want the embroidery to stay. It won't shrink either because it doesn't have any shrinkable nature to it. It is a one-of-a-kind secret stabilizer. And right now we're using it as a substitute for our water-soluble product that we print on normally, the stick and rinse, because we're sold out of that right now. So you guys can still play. You don't have to wait. If you bought the Octi-Hoops, you have some stick and rinse in your kit. I'm going to cut it for a second and explain something. I'm using the scissors, so what's going to happen? No, we don't want to use the scissors, because then I'm going to have to stop and bring everything back up again. So I'm going to pull this out. Say your needle thread broke and you needed to rethread. Then what you do is you leave your bobbin thread connected and you can change your thread. Then you don't have to bring your bobbin thread up the next time. In fact, you cannot bring your bobbin thread up if you didn't cut it. But I'm going to cut it, because as you're embroidering, and what you cannot tell is, I can't tell because I got too much stuff in front of me, whether or not I'm covering well enough. So then you go and you put it on your light table and you can see if your stitches are not covering enough, or you can hold it up to the light and look through your stitching. So I'm not sure if I can get you to see that, but you can see that that is not covering well enough right there. And that is why this product is called Cover Up, because it covers up the fabric, allowing you to not be perfect. Because I didn't use it, I have to try to be perfect. And since I can't see, I'm going to show you something else you can do as well. Because today is not about me doing the best job. It's about showing you the most in one video on embroidery. You have our Octi-Hoops. Yay! Oh, I have to but those. Oh, you have to buy those. Oh, you don't have our Octi-Hoops. I need my, I don't have glasses that I can use looking there, and at the screen, so I do my best. So since I can't see, or I couldn't see, so what I do is I turn it, and now I can see better. So if you're not seeing your thread, it has to do with the way the light reflects on it. I tend to do a lot better if I'm moving the hoop up and down. I can see better on the surface whether or not I'm covering as well as I could. Remember? Lower the foot, or you get the bird's nest. Bring your bobbin thread up if you cut it, and I did. And then you put your finger down on your threads. You don't grab hold and hold on to your thread and go like you're riding a horse and holding the reins. Just one finger down on your thread. And really it's only the needle thread that you need to hold down. And you just hold it for a few stitches and move it a little bit and then cut the threads. And my thread cutting scissors are in the other room. There we go. So now I'm going to be able to see a lot better, and so will you. Instead of thinking you're catching the thread or the covering up the fabric, you can see that you are. Isn't that nice that you're not stuck in one particular position on the hoop, because the hoop has 8 holes. So any one of these holes you can just lift the handle up and put it in the other hole. And that's how one-handed sewers are able to use this so well, is that if you want to move the hoop that direction, then you just lift the handle out and put it that way, and then they can go side to side. When they want to go up and down, they move it into the one that's in front, and they go up and down. All right. I'm having fun. Are you guys having fun? So we are going to discuss now what I forgot to tell you, which is what needle to use. Does anybody know what needle that they think I would tell you to use for this? It's been a very popular needle. I've been recommending it quite a bit. It is the Super Universal. And my son and I are building the new Creative Feet site, and we're going to be really explaining the needles to you. Thought I had a pack here of them. Right now, if you're at creativefeet.com and you're looking for the Super Universal needles, they're in with the Universal needles, and then you look all the way at the bottom and you'll see Super. And they say non-stick, but the main reason they're called Super is that they have a wider space down the front of the needle. I don't need this on right now, so we'll oopsie. Save the light so it lasts longer. On your needle, on the front of your needle, it has a long channel that goes down the front. So the Super Universal has a bigger one, and it's super exciting. I'll tell you why in a minute. And it also has a bigger, or a bigger drop down from that actual groove to the eye of the needle, which is also bigger. And that's really cool. It's so exciting. Because if we have a bigger gap in between, or more of an opportunity for the thread to bend over and come down into the waterfall, which is kind of what happens as the thread goes down, it then drops down into the waterfall. And then on the back of the needle, there's this scarf. And the scarf is where the hook comes and picks up the needle thread. And this is why you guys skip stitches, because the thread goes too close to the back of the needle based on the material that you're sewing. So when the needle goes into your material, whatever thread that you're using goes into that actual channel right there. It like drops down and hides in a hole. It hides in the tunnel or in that channel as the fabric goes through. And if the fabric is stretchy, it grabs the needle and it makes the thread then come too close to the back side of the needle. And this is what makes your thread skip. So the Super Universal gives you a better opportunity to not skip a stitch than any other needle. And it is not just super, we're thinking of calling it the Ferrari of sewing machine needles. So basically you can use it for just about any material that is woven. Because it has a rounded tip, you wouldn't want to use it on leather. Because you use a rounded tip on leather and it's like hitting a wall. All right, it's an awesome needle. Hi, Eve. I didn't say hi to you yet. And Edna Miller, hi. Hemingway, what a great name. I loved Hemingway. Or I love his writing. Here we go. So, slower machine smooth, trying to get a good consistent speed that I'm moving my hand is similar to what I did before. Gives you a more uniformed look. You're not going to get the exact same look as an embroidery machine, and I personally like that fact. I like the texture of free motion. I'm getting hypnotized by the needle, and I can't see at all because my glasses aren't on. I also can't see because now the shadow is dropping in that same direction, right? So I do what? I just turn it, bring the handle over to another hole. Elbows down, shoulders relaxed. Don't clench your teeth. Don't squint your eyes. Slow. See how slow I'm running the machine? Oh, that's what I was saying before. You should sew the speed that your eyesight can follow. So if you move the hoop really fast, you can't see that. You can't focus on that, and that causes you to sew outside of the lines and not have things look as good as they would. So I find that I do a better job when I'm looking up the stitching line that I'm doing. Does that make sense to you? And I can tell that I need to go back over here. This is definitely not holding as well as I would like. So cover up would have made this a lot better. And now you can see why the factories that do factory embroidery use our cover up. Like Time Warner. When you see embroidery, you buy a garment and it's embroidered and then you wash it and it looks the same after you washed it, they got our cover up on there. We sell to a lot of manufacturers, by the way, not just you guys. And you can use this for embroidery machines as well as for your home sewing machine. Not the Octi-Hoops, but the stabilizer. The Octi-Hoops cannot be used on an embroidery machine. Isn't that ironic and kind of funny? You know what I didn't do? I didn't lower my thread tension, and I should have. So my tension's normal at 4. I should have taken it down to 3. And I forgot to lower my feed dog, so now I'm going to lower them. And I don't know if you can hear it because this microphone's really good. And you don't hear that as loud as the machine normally sews. But I just dropped the feed dogs. So they've been up the whole time. If you have a machine and you can't lower your feed dogs, I did all of that with my feed dogs up. And there's 7 rows of feed dogs on this machine. So if you only have 2 rows of feed dog, that's easy. Let's talk thread when you have time. You need all of our thread. Just order it all. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah, this is 40 weight embroidery thread that can be used for garment sewing as well. It would be a stronger thread to use on a garment than our 80 weight and our 100 weight polyesters. If I were to embroider with a 80 weight thread, 80 being a smaller thread than 40 by 50%, then you would see me sewing a lot longer because the thread would be thinner. It would take a lot longer to cover the area that I'm covering up. Does that make sense? So it doesn't make much sense, does it? That the thread, when it's thinner, has a higher number. It can get very confusing. I feel so sorry for all of you that don't already know all this stuff, but you'll get it. You'll get the hang of it. Now this is easy embroidery because there's no shading, but I could actually elevate this and start shading and use like a darker shade of pink on the underbelly to create the impression of shadow beneath the wing. And this is when you'll get more creative. So sometimes you want to do a little bit sparser thread so that you can come in with more colors and shade it and make it look more realistic. So Fiona, I don't know if the other lady that has rheumatoid arthritis is in here today. I can't remember what your name was, but she bought it and she used it for the Octi-Hoops. What you're used to doing when working with hoops and things is you're used to pushing down, and there's no pushing down on this. This is like ice skates on ice. It's super slippery and lightweight. The hoops are very, very lightweight, and they have a special base on them that makes them slippery. So you don't have any, you don't utilize those muscles. You don't have to push down, and you don't have to squeeze the handle. So normally you get tired from writing, right? It's hard to write, isn't it? Nobody is allowed to talk bad about themselves in here. If free motion embroidery were super easy, then you'd see a lot more videos on YouTube where people are teaching it, and they're not. So even the teachers struggle. In fact, I've taught teachers and had them all go, I go, raise your hand if you're good at free motion. And there were 75 educators standing around, and only like 3 raised their hand and said they were good at free motion. And that's because of the way that you're taught to do it without our hoops is kind of crazy. You're taught to push down and move with your elbows up and draw that way. And if you tried drawing that way with a pen in your hand, you would really struggle, wouldn't you? So let's see. I have a heart shape, and my job is to color in the lines. But if you're holding your hands like this and moving it around, it's the equivalent of holding a pen like this. Try to make it so you can see better. And lifting your elbows up and trying to draw. If you've ever written on a chalkboard and you've had trouble getting your handwriting to look good, or if you've ever tried painting and you can't stay within the lines or get your details where you want, know that artists don't do that. They do that when they're doing a background. But if you're trying to do a detail like the eye on a painting, you put your hand down on something or your pinky down, which is why my pinkies are kind of bent funny, because I use my pinkies as a tripod for whatever I'm doing. And you probably do it too, and you don't even know you're doing it. So your pinky goes down and then you sign your name. If you held your hand up and tried to write your name, you now have nothing, and I'm not trying to make it look bad, but that's how much I don't have really good writing to begin with. I can go very slow and write well. There, I tried really hard. Now I'll try really hard to do it neat with my hand up. And this is what you guys are dealing with when you do free motion with your elbows up. You are moving. When your elbows are up, your body wobbles from side to side because you're not connected to anything that's connected to the earth except for your chair. So from your tush down, you're stable, but everything above, because you're not a single pole without any moving joints and tendons and muscles, that's why it's so hard to maintain good, accurate sewing when your elbows are in the air, because you are a noodle above a surface that is not. The sewing machine is stable. It is connected to the table, which is connected to the earth. And then you're the missing thing that is wobbling around. So you want to get your arms down. And with our hoops, you can do that. With any other hoop, you can't. You're supposed to elbows up. So no pushing down, no squeezing, because you don't have to. That's what I was going to say. It's a lot for you guys to take in. But know that you can rewind this. When you write, you squeeze your pen. Pen. Our family says pen and pin the same way, just about all of us. My leather stitching nurse. Leather stitching nurse. I can't remember. You're going to have to refresh my memory. Hello, everybody. Okay, so update on the giveaways. You need to join our newsletter. You need to be a member of our newsletter. And then you need to open the newsletter each week to know who won the prize. And in order to get the prize, your name has to match what is inside of the live chat. So, because if you're like a YouTube member, you might be using your husband's YouTube account and not realize that I don't know who you are. So then I'm going to announce the name that's on YouTube inside of Facebook or inside of our newsletter. Then in order to get the prize, you're going to go in and do the comments. So after this live video is over, there's a comments area. And in the comments, you're going to go, I'm the winner of this week's giveaway. And that is how I tie your name together with what you email me inside of our newsletter. So, because we had someone try to take the prize from someone else. Or they didn't. And Lorinda would know because it was Lorinda's prize that somebody was trying to claim as theirs. But I told them, I go, you got to comment on the video and so I can see that you are Lorinda Leonard. And I saw that you're in my school. So I'm pretty sure that your name is Lorinda and not the other person's name. All right. There's some naughty people out there. I need my glasses. Can't see. And I don't know if adding a little bit more light will help you guys see better. Is that a little better? Looks like it. Oh boy, was that bad. So remember, you've got 8 holes to put that handle in. Oh, I moved the camera. There we go. That's a better angle. I want to be able to see the stitching. If it's going this way, I can't see over the mountains of thread that I'm doing. So we want to embroider through the valley. Sorry, I even snorted. I thought that was funny. So up and down movement works better for me. But notice that I'm not sitting, I'm also not sitting like this, scrunched over and close to the work, that I am resting my elbows on the table. Some of you have your machine dropped into a cabinet and the machine is closer to you because they bring your machine as close as 3 inches from your body. And that's too close. That's just too close for your arms. Proper posture is to be sitting in an upright position. You should not have to hunch over, and you should be able to put your arms down and rest the upper body on the actual table so that your fingers are nimble and free to move. This is why it does work good for people with arthritis. You can just slide your fingers. You can hold this any way you've adapted to holding a pen. And you can also just not use it and just put your hands on top. It's not as easy to do it without the handle, but know that you can. Children, of course, you don't want them to use their fingers like that because they're more likely to sew through their fingers. And those of you who are like children and sewed through your finger already, you know that you might feel more comfortable using the 2 handles at the same time. Hi, Betty. Have I looked into the new magnifiers? A magnifying, they used to have this thing called Magna Stitch. And it attaches to the sewing machine and you can look through it. That would be great. My issue is I have a microphone and the cell phone in the way. So it's blocking my ability to see. And I'm having to sit in not proper posture. You just updated your first name to be Jean. Is it Jean? Okay, so all of this talk about our names and everything, eventually I won't have to say it, I'm hoping. But I'll remind you guys every week until we all learn. This is a live show, so some people are like, oh my gosh. There's one lady who was so funny. She goes, I like what you did, but why would it take 3 hours to learn anything? I guess I'll never know is how she put it. In other words, she didn't have 3 hours to learn what I was teaching. But if you know me, you know that I teach a lot of different things while teaching you a project. This is about science here. So the wing moves in this direction. And we're almost to the new color, which will make it more exciting. If you're wondering what's on top, remember you can fast forward and rewind. When this is over, you will have the ability to go back and watch from the beginning and save this in your favorites so that you can, when you're ready to do embroidery, you'll have all the information you need to do it. The Octi-Hoops were just reduced by 50%. It's a huge drop in price. So if you were waiting because you couldn't afford them, know that we did everything we could to price them well over the years, and we finally have a huge cost drop. We do a cost analysis every year on our products. There were some other products that were decreased as well, because it's my desire that you actually can do the sewing. And when I designed these, I was designing something for children to be able to do it as well. So since this leg is pink, I'm going to make that leg pink, this lighter pink as well. But his tail and his crest is going to be another color, and I'm almost ready to change it. Right? Yep. Yay. Remember, if you don't cut your bobbin thread, you don't have to bring it up again. So you just take and pull that thread out. And where's my big giant scissors? Do I have any other little ones? I have some other scissors in here. This is silly. These are Ginger nippers. And this is something that I really like. And they have another end, and you can thread it through a chain and have it around your neck. And they're super sharp. They will be added to our site soon. This is an old product. It's been around a long time. But it's something that I used to use for embroidery. Good for people with arthritis, because you don't have to put your fingers in any holes. Left-handed and right-handed. They're springy. Let's see how sharp those points are. All right, so I'm changing to the next color, pink, and it's a significantly darker pink than the other. But I'm comfortable with the fact that I haven't seen any bobbin thread come up. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it with a light pink bobbin. There was a knot tied on there. And this is going on my thread dispenser, which apparently you can't see because we're on split screen right now. Because the cones of thread are designed to unwind up, not sideways. So if you guys have had trouble, I saw a thread on one of the social media sites, and people were talking about how their thread constantly gets tangled even when they use the thread cap. And actually it'd be better to flip it around and have the thread come off the bottom sometimes instead of having it come toward the machine that way. But nothing is better than feeding it up, because that's how it was designed to be fed. And the thread dispenser has an eye hook that you put it through, and then you take it and just pretend the thread is on your sewing machine. In other words, pretend the spool of thread is on the machine. Know that we're sold out of one of the thread dispenser right now because we ran out of one of the parts. So we have to do another run, because everything we sell is made in Arizona. And for 32 years, my products have been made in Arizona. I mean, in the United States. Because I originally came from California. Hi, I'm thinking you're Cheryl. Hi, Cheryl. You've learned a lot today, and even though I've watched your previous videos, you described my problem. 2 wobbly arms, yay. And you were lurking because I didn't see you before. Thank you for participating. I understand not wanting to be a part of these things sometimes. I sometimes lurk. I'll bring this microphone up a little bit. Try to position this better. Okay, so now we have a dark pink, and we're going to go ahead, and we don't have to bring our bobbin thread up because it's still up. I do, however, have to lower the foot, because if I don't, we get what? Bird's nest on the bottom. And we're sewing a bird, but we don't want to make a nest for it. God. We're going to cut that thread. And remember, for me, it works better if... Oh, I got 2 handles going here. It works better if I go up so I can see if my stitching lines are close are going next to each other instead of just piling up thread in the same spot. And that would be the #1 reason for breaking thread while sewing. I could show you, but I cringe at the thought of doing it. So people, when they're first learning, tend to just sit there in one spot. Like you're stopped at a stoplight, but you leave the motor running and you're revving up your engine even though you're sitting in one spot. And then the thread stitches over and over and over and it cuts the thread. So that's one reason for breaking thread. Another reason for breaking thread is your thread tension on the top is too tight. And that can happen just by using a cone of thread on a vertical spool pin, because then the machine has to pull the weight of the whole cone of thread around in a circle, and it's just too heavy. You can try to, offset that by using a very light thread tension on the top. But you guys get a little bit wonky and you get kind of confused with tension because it's the opposite of logic. If the thread is coming up to the top, it's the bobbin thread that's too loose. And if your needle thread is, or if your bobbin thread is popping up to the top, the bobbin thread is too loose, or your needle thread is too tight. So if you see something bad on the top, it's usually the bottom. And if it looks bad on the bottom, it's the top that's making it look bad on the bottom. Opposite of logic. This would have been better. Oh, I got I did it. This is the shredding of the thread. This is a great education for you. And those of you who don't have our thread dispenser or you're using too small of a needle for the thread that you're using, you'll get this. And where the damage occurred is actually down in the bobbin area. Remember I showed the needle, showed the back of the needle, showed how stretch fabric grabs the needle and then pulls the thread too close to the back of the needle, and then the hook nicks the thread instead of picking it up, causes skip stitches, but it also can just damage the thread. And then the thread, when the take-up lever goes up and down, it's actually pulling the thread in and out of the needle. So actually that stitch that's going down into the fabric isn't actually laid on the fabric for maybe 5 stitches before the thread is actually laid down on the fabric. I don't know if I'm making enough sense here, but know that this damage did not occur. It didn't start or originate up here. It originated down in the bobbin area. So just, you have to stop, and you don't have to pull your bobbin thread up though. Remember that. I don't remember if I changed my needle. I don't think I did in the beginning. I have no idea what needle's in the machine. Oh, I do. It's right here. Because I use this gooey stuff on the back of my needles. And that's how I know what needle I'm using. So I am using a stretch 9014 needle, which is a good needle for embroidery. Before the super universal needle, that was what I would recommend you'd use for embroidery, is a stretch needle, even though there are embroidery needles. Because I have a different way of doing everything. Save the light on the tablet when you're not using it. I keep hitting it with my elbow, turning it on. I can't see. Now I gotta go up to the crest. Cut the thread. Oh no, I cut the bobbin thread. I forgot. This machine tends to have the thread come out of here too much. Oh, my comments stopped feeding. Okay, so hi Susan Coffee, I recognize your name. And Mary B, love the logical. Yes, I am very logical. I'm too logical. I miss a lot of jokes. My daughter thinks it's hilarious. She'll send me a joke and I'll go, what does that mean? And she goes, oh, mother, it's funny. Just laugh. Okay, so we've got, now we're going to do the crest. And I would recommend not having both handles sitting there if you're not using them both, because it'll distract you. My tendency is to start sewing sideways. For those of you who are paying attention, I didn't bring my bobbin thread up. Elbows down, shoulders relaxed. Wear your glasses if you need them. And boy, do I need them. I didn't used to need them when I was younger. All my customers at shows would go, one day, see how off I was on that line? I thought I was right next to the line. Wow. So I'm going to make his crest feathers appear bigger by doing bigger stitches. And that's accomplished by slowing down the sewing machine. Just go really slow. How slow can you go? You got speed control. Speed control on your machine helps you go slower. Slower your hands move, faster the machine runs, the smaller your stitches are. So if you want big stitches, you slow down your machine and move your hands faster than the machine is running. Without our hoops, this would cause your thread to break. The shape of the octagon is why we're able to do things that you normally cannot do with a regular embroidery hoop. Sorry, I got music playing in my head because I'm alone. Oops, I lost track. Big stitches, slow movement. Run the machine slower, Claire. So I should be using my cruise control or my speed control because then I wouldn't have to think about how fast I'm going with my foot. Have you ever gotten a ticket because someone's in the car with you and you lost track of what you were doing? It's kind of like that. I'm talking to you while I'm sewing. If I'm alone, I do a lot better. I'm far better when no one's watching or if I don't have to teach. There's two different parts of the brain are used when doing this. I'm teaching. If I think about it, I will be a lousy teacher, so I'm not going to think about it. So just know that that if you set your speed control, you won't have to think about how fast the machine is running. It's one less thing for your non-multitasking brain to do. Because your brain really does not like trying to keep track of more than one thing at a time. To get really good at this, what I recommend you do is listen to a movie you've watched so many times you don't have to watch the movie to picture the scenes in the movie. And that kind of takes you into this place in your brain. They call it the automatic function area or autonomic. If anyone on here is really smart and knows the right term for that, it's a part of the brain they've discovered lights up when you have to do things like drive your car. And you're driving your car and you arrive to the store, but before you leave, you say, I'm going to the Circle K or the 7-Eleven or the Walgreens or whatever local store that you know very well and you know how to get there. Autonomic. Whatever Debbie said. I can't read it that well, and I'm probably missing a syllable in there. So you drive to the car, you go, I'm going to go to the 7-Eleven, and you get in the car and you go there and you arrive and you go, wow, I don't remember the drive. Has that ever happened to you guys? Okay, sorry, there was a post, but it has nothing to do with what we're doing. That popped up all of a sudden. So if you've ever driven somewhere and you can't remember most of the drive getting there, it's because your brain already knows how to get there, and it allows you to kind of space out. And so you can listen to music and sing, and it's a great place to be, and it's very easy to get there when doing free motion. It's so relaxing. But until you stop trying to learn, when you're trying to learn it, if you write notes and you try to keep, tabs of everything that you're doing, it might take you longer to get really good at it. So sing out loud while doing this and you'll do a better job. It's really true. So when I did teach that group of 120 students, I had them sing the alphabet while they were embroidering. So we're good on the dark pink. I don't know. I think I could put a little bit more dark pink over there. If I want to take this and go all the way over to here, I could do that, but I'd be wasting a lot of thread, wouldn't I? But if I pull from over here and go all the way back over here, I'm going to have a big long length of bobbin thread underneath the machine too. So this would be a time when you would cut both needle and bobbin thread and then hop over to clean up and make these areas better. But I'm going to go now and I'm going to switch to the color for the feet, I guess. Should I do the feet and the beak the same color? Should I make them yellow even though parrots don't normally have? Well, some of them do. I know a lot about parrots. I used to have cockatoos, and for a short period of my life, I trained birds that had red gloves syndrome, which was they were caught in the forest and they were brought to the United States, and they were full-grown birds, not baby birds, and they were caught by people with these red gloves, and so they would bite people. And I trained birds and got them to stop biting. That was one of my jobs I did. So there you go. Some useless information that you know about me. I think I like this color. It's kind of a gold. And notice I haven't had to change my bobbin thread. It's not popping up to the top. Which yellow, Donna? I'll let you choose. Or Susan. Susan said yellow. Which yellow? We have 3 yellows to choose from. Left, right, or middle? It's a little girl's bib, so the middle or the left, right, or middle? Hurry. Come on, you guys can type faster than that. You could do 1, 2, or 3 too. That's faster. Not fast enough. Come on, you guys. All right. Bright yellow? I feel like since it's a child's thing, we'll go bright yellow. Have you ever threaded your machine around a microphone and wires, you guys? By the way, when you thread your machine, after you go through your first thread guide, you put your finger down on it and hold it there, and then you won't have it tangle up inside the machine as you sew. If you need a little bit of slack, you just let up for a minute and then put it back down again. This will save you a lot of problems with where you don't really know that you didn't hit the take up lever because there's not enough tension on the thread when you just pull it through. Some people just go la da da, and then it misses and it doesn't get into the tension discs. Okay, well, I chose the really bright yellow. I have no idea if it was left, right, or middle. Good thing it really doesn't matter. I'm just trying to get you guys to participate. Bright beak. Bright beak and darker feet. All right. Once again, these are the Octi-Hoops. You get 3 hoops in the kit. Sometimes we use 1, sometimes we use 2. And I'm going to show you when we will use 3, but not today. Super exciting. You can use all 3 of these hoops together to do something that you may never have seen before. Coming up on another episode of Fabrically Speaking. Here we go. Bring your bobbin thread up. And we got pink bobbin thread, so hopefully I won't regret that. I did lower my thread tension 1 entire number less than normal. And remember, the beak is going down like that, so we wouldn't want to cross our stitches going sideways. We want to make the stitches follow the direction that the shape is. I keep looking at these hands going, whose hands are those? My hands are starting to show my age. I can't see because I'm not wearing my glasses. Here we go. All right, so we could even go in with other colors of thread and make this even more enhanced. There's so much for me to teach you. Oh, I was going to show you that. I'm going to switch to a zigzag stitch. Because some of you may have done machine embroidery before and may be thinking this is awfully slow. A straight stitch is best for portrait embroidery. But if you want to fill in faster, a zigzag stitch is definitely faster, but it is more challenging. because the needle's swinging in left and right direction. So if you have your hoop going the wrong direction, now you're just going to get a whole big mess. So this requires you to drive the car, steer the steering wheel. See how I'm rocking the hoop? But it's laying down more thread. This will also make it rise higher than the rest. And the beak is, in essence, higher than the rest, right? It's so fun when you get in the groove. Now, because we used a topper that needs to tear away, I am going to switch back to my straight stitch. And when I did that, my tension changed. I should have reduced my tension. That's one of the problems with embroidery machines is your tension changes if you switch stitches. I should have gone down to the 3 again on that zigzag stitch. You can also do a zigzag stitch by simply moving the hoop in a zigzag motion. And that makes it easy to taper areas that start wide and taper down to small. And that is how this was accomplished. This entire towel was just a straight stitch, and I just moved the hoop in a zigzag motion with the handle like that. It's easy, you guys. You just need to do it. For those of you who've had them and you've been a chicken and not doing it, it's time to get them out and start playing with them. Since I use a zigzag stitch here, it's not perforated as much. So it's good to go back over. Of course, we're going to outline this with black thread to finish it off because it's a cartoon. The bottom beak, it's going to curve. Smaller stitches make it look below. Also going with a little bit darker thread, but see, I got some pink thread coming up. I don't know if you can see that. I did. Got one pink thread coming up. Darn it. See how big the stitches can go? Simply slowing the sewing machine down can really get a rhythm going. I can't do that without rocking my body. See how big that stitch is? Now you don't have to do it that fast. You can just move it, do a stitch, move it, do a stitch. This is more about me teaching you than making something perfect right now. So move it, do a stitch, one stitch at a time, and creating gigantic stitches. You wouldn't want to do that on a quilt or anything where a finger might get stuck in there in these gigantic stitches. You could do like one midway and then go over, so they're not as loose. But really cool look when you're done with it, when you do that. This is one of the things I taught when I did the crab in that class. So small stitches. Ooh, my thread got caught up here on my bobbin winder. And that's because I have too much stuff laying around on top of my sewing machine. My little touch thing got the thread wrapped around there, and then it got caught on the bobbin. And so I broke a needle. Aren't you guys excited? I broke a needle in front of you. Cocktail time. Cocktail time in Kentucky. What are you going to have? I had a little eggnog with everybody on New Year or Christmas Eve. So when your needle breaks, it's actually engineered to break above the eye of the needle so that you don't have the eye of the needle go down into the machine. Did you know that? Isn't that cool? They heat temper the needle to make it more fragile in one spot. And that wouldn't have probably broke if I had my super universal needle on. which I have no idea where I put my pack. There it is. When you buy needles from us, you don't get the paper. You just get the needle pack like this. And we buy them cheaper that way, and then that's why our prices are better than other places. So you're paying for that cardboard. So this is the super universal. You can see it's darker than that other needle was. And this one it's thicker, a lot thicker than the one I was using. The stretch needle has a thinner shaft that goes up into the machine. It's thinner, so the needle is wider than it is thick, and it makes it more fragile, but it also has a deeper scarf than this one does. And so it gives you, it's kind of, the super universal is kind of substituting for the stretch needle. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Remember, when you thread your machine, you must lift the presser foot to make sure the thread's in the tension discs, then lower it before you thread it. Well, I answered a question. I don't know what question it was, and I'm glad that I was able to answer it without even knowing I was doing it. Okay, so now I'm going to do the feet, and I'm starting to get tired and hungry. It's 4 o'clock, 2 hours in. Bedtime in the UK. I'm not surprised. Remember, when I finally end this, it will be on YouTube and saved inside of Facebook and YouTube. My left foot is cramping. Why? I must be doing something weird to make it do that. Elbows down, shoulders relaxed. I had somebody call me up and she goes, every time I sew now, I go elbows down, shoulders relaxed. And you'll feel so much better. Now his feet, I'm going to do circles instead of side-to-side motion. And this will create that kind of knobby skin that birds have on their feet. Little circles. And notice, oh, you can't really see. So watch this movement that I'm doing. My hand is down on the machine and I'm just doing little tiny movements with my fingers. This hand is just kind of resting on the hoop and my elbows are on the table. This is how you sew with the Octi-Hoops. Elbows down, shoulders relaxed. Wear your glasses so you can see that you're filling it all in. Which once again, where are they? Oh, they're here. Here they are. Oh my goodness. Yeah, definitely need your glasses. And definitely should have switched to a yellow bobbin thread or a white bobbin thread. Pink is starting to show. Over. And I think it's because I just need to iron this down again. Circles. Stick and rinse would still be held on here. Probably could have ironed it longer. I was nervous ironing on the cutting table or cutter pillar. Little tiny circles. Change the direction so you can see. Hold it up to the light if you need to. Oh, I have to do the minky. I promised. I'm trying to stay within an hour, but it's not working, you guys. As I said before, I could teach you so much on embroidery that there's a lot of videos I could do on it. I could stop right now and do minky next week. I think what I'm going to do is finish this off camera and I will show you minky. I was going to show you how you could patch though. I'll still do that. So when you want to remove it, because I can still put it back in the hoop afterward, you simply pull toward the embroidery. And if you do it holding down, then it won't stretch that out of shape. The reason I did this one first is because it doesn't have a bunch of lint. I know I hit two hours. Yeah, make fun of me. It may just end up being a 2-hour show. I think once I was just at an hour. I start getting really hungry. And then you may have some pieces in between that you will use tweezers, but you can see how it just comes off. And that doesn't wash out because it's polyester fabric. So I'm going to finish this later, and maybe next week I'll show you guys how it ended up. We're going to go ahead now and patch that with a piece of stick and tear. And I'm going to monogram, which doesn't take me very long, and then we'll end after that. Do any of you have any questions? So even though this tears like paper, it is not paper. It is on paper. This is paper, the outside. But this is polyester fabric. And I didn't make sure I had a piece big enough. That wasn't very smart of me. And it adheres to itself. You take the release liner and the shiny side and put it down and rub to secure it. Make sure you're always doing this on a flat surface. The clear, wow, that just jumped. Where'd it go? Somebody wrote Hemingway wrote something and then it disappeared. You must have deleted your post. Or it just slid all the way up to the top. Sometimes the feed moves in a weird, illogical way. And I'll almost see someone's post and then it's gone. So no, after I'm done, at some point I go through and I look at all of your comments. I don't know if I'll always be able to do that. The more people find out about us, the more of you that are online. I'm going to put this piece on the bottom because I tore it kind of poorly. Now we have the opportunity to tighten it up again because it's repositionable. As long as your hands are clean and not, you don't have lotion that you just put on, you should be able to keep redoing this. Or perhaps you're cooking in the kitchen, you got butter on your fingers. New comments. Was that clear plastic wrap? What is the clear? It is our Hold Light. However, our stick and rinse is what we usually use on top. We're just sold out of it right now. If you get an Octi-Hoop kit right now, you will get some of the original stick and rinse. And this is my first time trying our Hold Light on top in place of stick and rinse, and it's not as good, but it worked pretty good. It'd be even better if I'd sewn through the cover up, which I'm going to show you now. But I'm going to re-iron this. Putting it on synthetic because it got all moved around and I've ironed it under. I think I'm going to use my actual ironing board instead of the glass. Oh gosh. So I'm basically just dropping a bunch of stuff on the floor. This is what we would use also on towels. You use the topper on the top of the towel because otherwise you have all those loops on your terry cloth to cover up. So this covers up the terry cloth, allowing you to embroider through it. And then this one holds down that one while you're sewing through it. For those of you who came up later. And I'm embroidering on the little outfit I made for my dog Tinkerbell last week. So if you want to learn how to make this little sweatshirt for your dog, that was last week's episode. And if you go to my channel, you'll see there is a playlist called Fabrically Speaking. That's the name of the show. Shiny side to the iron. Where's the tink? There it is. And the iron is on synthetic. Oh, no, silk. So the reason it's called Hold Light is because it's lightweight and it uses a light temperature to iron it onto the fabric that you're ironing it to. And we have Hold Light on the bottom of the sweatshirt as well. The iron I use is the Sunbeam. While I could carry all of the other brands, I have broken just about every other brand of iron. So now you can see this is a very small garment, but I can just pull out and lay down just the area I want to embroider on top. And this is called floating your embroidery, or floating your fabric. And my dad is the inventor of this whole process. He's the creator of the stick and tear stabilizer, and he was the inventor of the Hoop-It-All. If any of you had a Hoop-It-All, well, you had one of my dad's products. In this case, I'm going to use a zigzag stitch, and I'm going to use a width of 3 because it's a small name. Where'd my handles go? Sorry I can't zoom in better for you. I could have done it closer to the other side. So the Hold Light's on the bottom and it holds onto the stabilizer. So I'm going to leave it where it is because I'm teaching you something and I want you to do it right. And I'm going to use pink thread on top because the whole point of this is to use the color of the Hold Light that matches the thread, not the fabric. That way you use less thread to cover up the fluffy, nappy fabric. And I was going to use a softer pink, but I think I'm going to go for this one because it'll really show up. And everyone thought Tink was a boy because I made a blue sweatshirt, but if her name is Pink, maybe when I walk around the neighborhood they'll see it. And then they won't think she's a boy. Because it's so funny how embarrassed people get when they guess wrong. As if it's a little child, and so funny. This is how you thread your machine. You hold onto your thread with one hand while threading it. Then you know you're getting into all of the spots that it needs to get into. Then you must lower your foot before you thread the needle. This is how you stop yourself from getting a bird's nest underneath. Hi, Rianne. Night, night. I'm glad you enjoyed the show. All right. Now I'm going to start with a straight stitch and bring my bobbin thread up again. And you might be wondering why I don't lower the needle. It's because there's no foot in the way. So I don't need to in order to see. And that would be your reasoning for lowering it. So I have people actually ask me. I had this lady come up to me at a show and she goes, how come all my stitches are the same when I use your Octi-Hoops? And I go, my stitches or yours? Because I was like, why would you ask me why your work is really good? And she was like, no, I mean, every time I used any other method of free motion, and she was talking about quilting, she said, I got a BSR. I even bought a new machine that had it built in, and I still couldn't get all my stitches the same. And now I don't even think about it. And all my stitches are the same. And that's the reason, is that once you get the hang of this, you won't be thinking about what you're doing. You won't be thinking about your stitch length. You'll just be coloring, or in the case of quilting, it's like tracing. And just as you don't think about the pen when you're tracing, or how fast you're moving the pen when you're tracing, you're just tracing. It kind of releases and your brain and makes it not as big a deal. In this case, you could do a running basting stitch all the way around, and that would be done with a lighter tension. So you take your tension all the way to 0 and just do big running stitches all the way around. And this way, when you go to take it off, it'll be easier. And I'm doing this because this is just so small and this is bulky, and I want you to be able to see better. And I don't want to put my fingers right next to the embroidery. So this will replace the need for a foot. But you gotta make sure you do big stitches. Otherwise, well, you'll just be a little bit harder to rip them out. So anchoring everything down first to the stabilizer that is attached to the hoop. And this would not be needed with our stick and rinse. I'm so sorry that we're sold out of that right now. It's just really popular. And we should have had it in last year. So COVID made us run out. Companies were closed and shut down, and they can't work that make our product for us. Okay, so now if I just start a zigzag stitch right on the lettering, it will fall out. I want to use a straight stitch and secure and create like a knot. And I do that by going up, coming back, and then going back again. Whenever I'm going to use a really narrow width like this, because it isn't going to be a very wide stitch width. My scissors. There we go. And it's a really bad habit to leave your tails hanging around, your thread tails. So try not to do that. And I can't see at all, so I don't know if you guys can see either. I'd zoom in if I could, but I can't. So now what I'm going to do is go back, and I'm using a zigzag stitch monogram this time. We're going to do a zigzag width of 3. The length is irrelevant. And even if your feed dogs are up, stitch length does not exist if there's no foot. So that's one of the really cool things about not using a foot. Now if I hold the hoop, however I hold the hoop, I have to hold it in that direction the entire time I'm monogramming. It's kind of like a calligraphy pen. When you're using a zigzag stitch and you move sideways, your width of your stitch is kind of flat. And then when you go up, it goes wide. And so if you start with it straight, you might not like it as much as if you start it at a slight angle. Does that make sense? Have any of you done calligraphy before? Well, I didn't see Fiona say goodbye in time, I don't think. So you don't have to stay on just because I'm still working. Now I'm going to down on my thread tension to 3. Because on my computerized machine, when I switch to a zigzag stitch, the tension changes back to normal, which is too tight. Now don't steer the car. Rethread the upper thread. It's threaded. Why do you think the upper thread is not threaded? Is it not in the take-up lever? Because everything's in my way and I couldn't see? Feels like it's not through here though. It's 40 weight thread, so it should be seeing this thread without any problem. Can't stand that crybaby face that they give you. Why do you think the upper thread is not threaded? I don't want to have to start the machine again. When you go down on a letter, you got to come back over it. You want to go down fast and come up slow. What the heck is going on with this machine? I may have a bird's nest on the bottom. No. All right, I'm just going to let it get what it wants, and it wants me to rethread it. So I'm going to use a straight stitch and tie it off first, though. And then, well, that time it didn't ask me to. It said rethread the top. So I'm going to be obedient. Since I have so much trouble seeing around all this equipment, I may not have got it in there right. Sometimes when you use a really thin thread, the machine can't see the thread, and it will do that. And that's why Invisifil came out with a 80 weight, because some people's machines couldn't see the 100 weight. But they couldn't see it in the bobbin, so I would think the bobbin wasn't threaded. And that's why they called it Sew Bob. No, Deco Bob. And we carry both sizes on our site. So you can still use the Invisifil 100 weight in the needle, and then the 80 weight in the bobbin, and I can tell you that I used every weight of thread with the Deco Bob bobbins, and all of the threads, I didn't have to alternate tension to accommodate for any of the different weights of thread with that bobbin. It was awesome. So for those of you who don't like threading or winding bobbins, you have an alternative now. When I do a monogram, I go around after I do the zigzag with a straight stitch. Kind of cleans it up. Makes it look a little prettier. And then I'll hop over and I'll do the eye now. I've got to tie a knot again because it's not connected. Zigzag stitch, 3 width. It's good to talk to yourself while you do things like this so you don't forget one of the steps. And when you're going to go up and down on a letter, you go up fast and come back down slow. Otherwise you'll build up too much thread. So on the N, I'm not going to come back. And that's based on the motion of your fingers. So if you're going to write a T and you didn't feel the need to go back up, you'd want to do the whole T really slow. So when I do an I, if I come up and I got to come back down again, if you do it really slow on the way up, well, then it'll be just too heavy coming down, and you can break a needle from having too much thread pile up on there. Now I'm going to do the K. I got to go up fast, come back down slow. And come around, slow, slow. Now I'm going to switch to a straight stitch and sure it up and go around, all the way around. And I do that in part so that the cover up perforates and will tear away clean. Sorry that you can't see better. I really should have thought before I positioned this in the hoop, because I actually can't really monogram upside down. My brain does not enjoy that. And we're done. Nope, I'm not done. I didn't do the dot on the I. So we're going to go ahead and do a little circle and then select the zigzag stitch again. Tension back down. It's good for you to talk to yourself like I'm doing. Straight stitch, tie it off. Go all the way around the dot. Now cut your thread. You just bought your Octi-Hoop? Know that I'm doing my best to fill all the Octi-Hoop orders this week. You know it's bad when your son calls up and goes, "Are you going to be able to fill all those orders?" You don't want people getting mad at you for not filling your orders. But I caught up on all the pressers, because I make the pressers. So all the orders for the pressers that were in, at least up until today, are done. Yay. So I didn't cover up that K well. I'm going to go back over it. Straight stitch. Switch to the zigzag stitch. Saying it with me, you guys. Say it out loud. Now, zigzag stitch. I should have gone a little slower, but it's mostly because I just can't see well. Because unlike what you guys are seeing, I am actually sewing in the dark. My light is off on my sewing machine. So down here it's very dark for me. Straight stitch, tie it off. All right, we're done. Put your handles in a safe place, but not so safe that you can't find it anymore. I have a little tray that's up on the top of my machine that I put it in. And sometimes I put it in where the thread goes because I don't put thread there. And other times I put it in here. And then I have another set inside of here for when I can't find the ones that fall on the ground. And so now once again, you want to hold on to the stabilizer so it doesn't get all stretched out, because you can just keep patching. And that's what I did here. That's a patch. And you just pull in. See how the hold light that I ironed at the back is actually adhered to the stick and tear? And that means the minky itself isn't going to become distorted or pulled out by the stabilizer. So if you make towels and you want to embroider on towels and use the adhesive tearaway, or use our stick and tear, forgot what I was saying. Pulling into the embroidery. These are the loose basting stitches. I was worried that I was going to ruin my work, but that's the basting stitches. So I should have pulled them out before I started. All right, I'm going to stop trying to make it so you can see so well. Pull out that basting stitch. There we go. If you pull the bobbin thread first, then the basting stitch should just come right out. Pulls right out. Now, it'll tear clean. See that? And notice I'm rotating the hoop. And this is the best for the stabilizer, so that you can keep patching and applying more garments and not have to waste the entire sheet or section of stick and tear. And then you can just pull the top as well. That one and then this one, and it all just tears away. I had some long tails there. If I had my Appliquick scissors in here, I'd have done a better job. For those of you who are physically challenged, Appliquick has some tweezers that are really good. And I thought I found them in here yesterday. Someone actually begged me, we had sold out, and they begged me to sell mine. So I think that's what's going on. I got to remember to bring in another set for myself. Or maybe they're in here. Nope. Look for the tools section of our site, and you'll find a pair of tweezers in there that are really good if you have a hard time squeezing with your thumb. When you pull the cover up, you pull it toward the stitch, and we want to try not to ruin the minky here. So you can imagine if you were doing like an open design, like a cross stitch pattern, this would not be what you'd want to do. You'd want to use a water soluble. But these are both permanent stabilizers that are on here, and I'm not going to bore you while I remove them all because I can't see what I'm doing. But you can see how it does tear off, so you don't have to worry about getting scissors out. You just got to see what you're doing and pull with the right tweezers. Oh, see, it's so hard not to finish. And on the back, most of the stick and tear is gone, and it was because it was attached to the hold light, not to the actual minky. So you can see this shiny, clear right there. I don't know if you can see that. See that clear? So that is what was actually adhered to the minky itself. And it's a very light hold. That's why we call it hold light. It holds lightly to the fabric. It uses a light temperature. It's a very thin or lightweight stabilizer, so it's undetectable inside of your garment. And then when you're done, you've covered the minky and tamed it. Can you see that? Whoa, am I making you dizzy? I did this on Christmas stockings, on the fur, on the ready-made or store-made Christmas stockings for my daughter's girlfriend, for all of her children for Christmas one time. Yeah, it'll look a lot nicer when I have my glasses on and take the time to clean it all the way out. But remember, this is free motion. So free motion monogramming, applique, and you can do so much with the Octi-Hoops. I hope this helped you guys feel a little bit braver about doing free motion and helped you to understand why you have difficulty doing it sometimes. I will be going through all your comments to try to see if any of the answers we do. Oh, you have the bright pink presser. And I was actually thinking about making myself one because I keep having trouble finding this one. This is probably the best light. I've had to show it though. It's one of my favorites. I like green. And it has some like different shades. Oh, there we go. Isn't that pretty? I just love this one. This is the Green Hornet. Yep. And I don't really have all of them in here. This is one that I hand painted myself. I don't show it all the time because then people want to know where to get this one. But I've auctioned some of these off before. So whenever I do have extra time, which is becoming less and less often, I would auction off a hand-painted presser, and I can spend up to, 30 hours on painting one of those. This was my favorite prior, and this is a wood that's no longer available. But we've got some really pretty options in there, and they are all designed to last a lifetime, even if you drop it. I drop mine a lot. So each one of our stabilizers has instructions on the actual label. And the way that I've written our instructions, I got some minky on my eyelashes. When you read the instructions, you'll see we have actual hummingbirds. We'll say fuse, hold light, and then we have a hummingbird in the instructions. And the color of the hummingbird instructions. In other words, the hold light has an animal character. It's the hold light. It's the hummingbird because the hummingbird is lightweight, right? It's a little tiny bird. And it tells you what you use it for, because our stabilizers are used for a variety of different things. This stabilizer is also used for pattern drafting, as you saw last week, where you can trace your pattern onto this and iron it onto fabrics like minky and have no fraying or shredding or fuzz flying around. And it also is great for applique on the back of your appliques. Laurie, this is the one I was talking about. So you iron it to the back of your applique, and then it makes your applique really slippery. So there's lots of different uses for it. So what I did, just to recap what I did here, and know that you can see the chat right now, but I don't know if you guys can see it afterward. So I would hesitate to write it there, but know that we've written all the instructions already. To write them again would be redundant. However, the best place for you to ask a question like that is inside the school. So if you ask me to recap in the school, then I can copy and paste the instructions into the classroom for that specific item that you're interested in doing. So this would fall under the Octi-Hoops topic inside of Create with Clare Rowley, which is my free online school, or you can pick my brain all day long, and even sometimes at 3 in the morning. I think I answered someone at 2 o'clock in the morning last night, just because I woke up in the middle of the night, and I ended up reading the comments from the school. On the little bib, I used the hold light on the top, but not the bottom, and I should have used it on the bottom. It would have done a much better job. Because it's a t-shirt type of material, it gradually inches its way. And I was going to mention what makes it different to do free motion on a regular machine than an embroidery machine is when an embroidery machine moves the hoop, it has a unit that attaches to it, and there's a computer program based on what stitch you're doing. So if the embroidery arm is over here, and if it wants a zigzag stitch, it moves the hoop in a side-to-side motion. And it tells the machine to change the thread tension. So while the machine is actually running, the thread tension is changing depending on the direction the hoop moves. And your machine, it doesn't have a little fairy in there going, all right, she's going to move the hoop up. We need to lower the tension to 2 right now. So the octagon shape locks the stabilizer and keeps it from getting all puckered up inside of there. So you can even embroider with no stabilizer at all. Oh man, here I go. Let me give you one more thing. So I actually want a hole in the stabilizer. I don't know if I have enough stick left on it though. Probably should save this for next time. I definitely am going to save it for next time. And it's how I embroider through the wedding veil with no stabilizer. You can actually adhere fabric to an opening. So you can do a nice job of cutting it and making a nice square, and then lay your fabric on top of that and do that basting running stitch around it, and then sew where there's no stabilizer at all on wedding veils and chiffon fabrics, scarves. And you can also do felting. If you have a felting machine, you can use our Octi-Hoops with your felting machine, cut a window, do the running stitch around, and sew with nothing there, and save your fingers from all that pushing down that you're doing. Because the Octi-Hoops do not require you push down at all when sewing. And this is how easy they slip and slide. And I've done lots of episodes on quilting with the Octi-Hoops, so just be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And when you do, there's a bell. You click on the bell and then select all. And if you select all notifications, then you'll be notified every time I upload a video, because not only do we have the new Fabrically Speaking show, which you're watching right now, but I also will be uploading videos that are edited. And this is not edited, in case you didn't notice. I broke a needle on live. But now you know that you shouldn't store a bunch of stuff on top of your machine when you have the thread dispenser beside it, unless you're sure that you've cleared that area. And that's why that needle broke. Also, I was using a more fragile needle. This one is much more durable. The super duper universal needle that is also non-stick. It has a coating on it. I believe it's a nickel coating. That makes it not sticky. So let's see. Do any of you have any questions before I bid you adieu and go out to dinner? Because every Thursday after the show, I feed the dogs and I go out to dinner because I'm fried after this. But I love it. I enjoy you guys so much. Make sure you pick up a Caterpillar. They are so fabulous. Let's see. And the winner will be announced. If you are not aware, because the feed has grown considerably, there is a link to join our newsletter. You just click the link and you can sign up. If you already know for sure that you are already set up for our newsletter, then you don't have to do that. But if you're doubtful, you can start entering your information, and I will repost. Let me see if I can find it. I think I put it in the comments also. But here's how it works. If you didn't respond, if you didn't do anything, if you didn't chat during the live, there's no way to cheat and pretend you did afterward. So, and we go through and there's this program that helps us to see how much you participate during the chat. And we try to reward the people that do the most activity, but nobody can win if you're not already on the newsletter. And Lorinda, don't forget, you can email me at info@creativefeet.com, but I need you to go into the comment for the dog sweatshirt. I'll email you the instructions when you email me so that you know exactly what to do. But we like the winner to actually comment in the video so people know we actually do give those giveaways away. And this week's winner is going to get 6 colors of the 40-weight embroidery thread that you saw me use in today's session. And there's a lot of comments today, so I'd probably take me maybe 4 or 5 days to go through all the comments. Especially YouTube. YouTube is slower on making it so I can read all of your comments. The live chat goes down for a period of time, and then all of a sudden it's up and I can see it again. It's kind of interesting. Whereas Facebook is right there. What is the cutter pillar? This it's covered right now with all of this. This is just not how you should clean your sewing room. And every week I have to clean my sewing room because I make a complete mess. Sewing is one of the messiest things you'll ever do. The cutter pillar is light tablets. There's 3 different variations of them. And it's what I'm actually using right here. I just did a lot today. This is the glass, and we're able to iron right on it, right over that. So you can line up things that you normally can't see through. So for instance, if you wanted to draw out this little bird on the actual fabric without our stabilizer, without printing it, you could actually trace with the light tablet below it. It's a light box of sorts, and they plug in, but they're very low profile. And then you have 3 levels of brightness, so you can really see through. You can see the lines through the fabric and line up things and make sure your sticker is positioned properly. Or take a coloring book like my mother did in this Valentine quilt. So that Valentine quilt was a coloring book for Valentine's Day. And I was going to bring a coloring book out, but there's just so much stuff in here already. So what's really unique about the Caterpillar light tablets is they are also self-healing mats that are see-through. So you could actually take a piece of paper and put it beneath your cutting mat. Set the mat on top so it can't slip on you at all. And you can trace applique designs and then cut right on top. You will wonder how you ever sewed without it once you have one. The the original size is half of what you see here. And there is one, it's the green mat that you see on the table. And that's the basic glow is what it's called. It plugs in as well. So it's half the size of the ultra. And then there's one in between called the premium. And the premium is the same size as the basic, except for it is battery powered. So you can unplug it and go to the couch and you can sketch and do things on your living room couch and not have to have it in a fixed area like this, which is something I enjoy because sometimes you just want to get away from the actual table, right? Aren't they awesome, Debbie? They are. So let's see. So to recap, the stick and tear and the size of the hoops. Because you get 3. Where'd the big one go? I know I had it earlier. Oh my goodness, what a mess. I have made the biggest mess ever. The largest hoop is just under 12 inches. So if you want to get stick and tear, so that you can use it on all three. If your primary use for the Octi-Hoops is going to be embroidery, then I would recommend the 12-inch length or width of our stabilizers. And then you have the option of getting a 10-foot, 20-foot, 60-foot, or even 300-foot log of it. And that's because we sell to big embroidery companies as well. They use our stabilizer to embroider on baseball caps and towels and luggage and boots and belts. You can do dog collars with this. You can stick a dog collar because the stabilizer holds the item in place. No matter how thick the item is, it is held down for you, so you don't need to use a foot on the sewing machine. Something's hanging up behind me that I mentioned and I can't remember. This is something that I did with using the same technique that you saw I did on Tinkerbell's sweatshirt. And to get the eyes to show up and the glasses and all that, that would not show up if I didn't use the cover up underneath. And in this case I used white cover up. And I did that because you still have, even though I was sewing on white minky, it was still furry, and it gives you nice, pure, clean lines when you sew. They're called Octi-Hoops, OCTI. But you can call them whatever you want. People are always coming up with different names. There are 3 hoops in the kit, and I can't find the third one because I cleaned up over here like I cleaned up over here. It's I have no idea where I put it. And the 3 hoops are used together and separately. Sometimes we grab a corner and then we can move them together. There isn't a fabric you can't embroider on. I even embroidered on 1/4-inch rawhide. It was an eagle head. And let's see. So you want Hold Light, which is one of our most misunderstood stabilizers. And now you've seen me use it 2 weeks in a row, but know that I use it for the back of applique as well. I almost always use Hold Light in almost all of my projects. Cover Up is the one that would be primarily just if you're going to do embroidery, because it's a topper that blocks the fabric color from showing through your stitching, so you don't have to do as much stitching, which makes t-shirts and sweaters and fabrics not break down as quickly when you wash them. What is hanging up behind me? Yes, the Octi-Hoop. Oh, it's on the wall. That's what you're saying. All 3 sizes are right there on the wall. I'll move the mic. And that's a display I used to bring to the trade shows that we have not been able to do since March of this year. So stick and tear goes on the back of the hoop. Hold Light goes on the back of the garment and sometimes on top of the garment. Cover Up goes beneath the Hold Light and your thread. So these together, and we're going to do some embroidery bundles on our new site that we're building so that you guys don't have to think so much. In the meantime, you have access to me, and I'm very happy to assist you in helping you get what you need. As you can ask a few people in here who I'm sure I've spent quite a bit of time with on the phone, you actually do get me when you need help, at least for now. If we start getting too many calls, and well, that's what the school's for. If you ask a question, I answer, and then everybody in the school gets to hear or see the answer. Let me see if I've forgotten anything. You want to get the Deco Bob bobbin thread for your embroidery projects. It's also great for quilting. You bought the set years ago. You forgot you had them. That's like score. I already have it. I get to play. Let's see. All right. This is the end of... Now this is season 2, even though we didn't have very many episodes in season 1, but you end a season at the end of a year. So this is episode 1 of season 2 of Fabrically Speaking Live. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you have yet to subscribe to my YouTube channel, I sure hope you'll do so today. And I'd love it if you shared this information with your friends. And I look forward to interacting with you again next week as we go live every Thursday at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which varies depending on what time of year it is, because our time doesn't change. While you guys change time, we stay the same. You can watch it later, Deb. Yes, the whole thing. It moves really quick, actually. On Facebook, it's faster than on YouTube, but they're getting really good at taking the live feeds. When I run on and on like this, because now we're 3 hours long, 3-hour videos tend to take longer for them to resolve, but you never know. You might be able to just actually watch it right away. It's just the chat won't be available. So make sure that you guys join the newsletter. Click on the link that's in the comments, already in the comments, if you haven't. And I will, if you've made comments in the chat since we've been live, I will be able to see that. And then by the time our next week's newsletter goes out, when we announce the winner of this giveaway, then we will know who you are, because you'll be a member of our newsletter, and nobody else will try to sneak and say that they were you, because a lot of your names, like whoever wrote this, see how it just says Facebook user? I don't know who you are. I want to know who you are, but I don't know who you are. And since you're watching on Facebook, there's 3 dots up here on the right-hand side of your screen, and you click on those dots and then select group apps, and you click on that, and then you allow StreamYard to see who you are. And then the next time I go live, your picture will show up as it is already on Facebook, and they call that your avatar. And then your name will show up, so I'll know who you are. And if I already interact with you in Facebook, then I will go, oh, I know who you are, like I have for several of the others of you. You don't have to show your pictures. A lot of you guys are chickens about that. But I sure hope that inside of my school that you'll post your pictures in there. Especially when we do like a Zoom class and we're all on the screen together. It's a lot more fun. Everybody feels insecure about how they look on film. And remember this, if you go live on Zoom, it's always better to have your camera higher than your body. You don't want the camera looking up, because it makes everything look bigger. You didn't get a newsletter? If you didn't get a newsletter from us yesterday, then you aren't already on our newsletter list. And the link is in the comments. It's not in this chat. I think it is. I think it was at the top of the chat. I did that in both YouTube and in Facebook before I went live today. There's a link, but it's also in the comments already. So when this video ends, the comments will be visible, but the chat will disappear. And let's see if I can give you a link, because I don't know a quick way to do the one that I created for the giveaway. But I can give you the newsletter link directly from my site. So you guys can click on it right now. Let's see. I just think this is so cool. It's so neat to be able to go live with you guys like this. Finally got it all down, and good microphone. So that's the link to join our newsletter. And then when we know who the winner is, we announce it next week. If your name is not visible, like I got Susan Better. I know her. She's already bought something from us, so we would be able to notify her right away. But if you're an anonymous Facebook user, we really won't know, and that one would be really challenging. So if you're inside of one of my groups inside of Facebook, this is why it's really good to allow StreamYard to see who you are. Because it's going to be really hard for me. But I go through and I'll like respond to, I can't respond to your chat, to the live chat. So it's kind of tricky. So hurry up and allow the app before I go say goodbye. And I really want you guys to win these prizes. It's one a week. Okay, so you join the newsletter today, so you'll get another newsletter. You'll get at least one newsletter before next week. And in the school, I respond to you guys much more often. I mean, it's not a lot. I'm never annoying. In fact, most people go, I haven't gotten your newsletter in a long time. When are you going to send one out? That was before. But now that we have the weekly show, now I do a weekly newsletter. I hope it doesn't come off as annoying for any of you. You still can't join what? Five days until our birthday. Yes, it is 5 days till my birthday. So who is that? Somebody that shares the same birthday as me, apparently. Yes, on my birthday. I won't be live on my birthday this year. 2 years from now, I'll still go live even on my birthday, as I still went live on New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve. And this year I even went live using Zoom on Christmas Day. But don't expect me to do that next year. It was because of COVID that I did that. Oh. Well, I don't know who you are, so if you're inside of my group on Facebook, you can make a comment there. I may be able to see it in there who you are. We'll see. I really don't remember. I know that most of the problem is with YouTube. So, hi, Ed Jones. Ed Jones is a really good quilter, if I remember correctly. Fabrically Speaking doesn't show up where? Fabrically Speaking Live is at the top of this video right now. I don't have a Facebook group called Fabrically Speaking. I have a Facebook group called Creative Feet and Clare Rowley. So you should be able to find my Facebook group. Oh, I'll just go in there and pull that up for you as well. I do own the URL called Fabrically Speaking, and we've got plans. Things evolve slowly. Oh, there. Hi, Ed. I can see you now that I'm in Facebook. So, all right. So where's my group? There it is. I have several groups, but this is the one that I want you to join. Why didn't it go? They say if you go into Facebook, it's very slow, and they're right. Okay, so this is my group. So it's Clare Rowley is the name of the group. But I will post it right here. So join in there. Oh, and you're probably saying you can't join. And that's because I'm busy. So I'm going to give you access now. I see what you're saying. I'll get better at this. I'm approving all of you. Sorry for that. We just, every once in a while, there's some bad characters that pop up. So try to save you guys. You're all approved now. So you should be able to click the three dots now, and I'll hang on for a little bit longer so that you have an opportunity. And I believe it will change all of your Facebook anonymouses into you, so I'll be able to see all the activity that you participated in. I am juggling things today. I can't juggle at all. My brother Charles could juggle. I tried once. Hit myself in the head a couple times and went, this is not for me. I also can't do basketball or pool very good. People ask me what I'm not good at. There was something else I wasn't good at that I remembered yesterday. I was like, I need to remember that when I get asked that. Hi, Linda. I'm glad that you like my methods Thank you. So basically I come from a more scientific approach because I'm an inventor of sewing products and a mechanic. And if something is taught to you and it seems weird and you want me to actually, explain it in a better way, let me know. I had countless people asking me about the bowl cozy, people asking, is it true that polyester thread catches on fire in the microwave? And I was like, absolutely not. Considering it's microwavable safe material. So I was like, why are you asking? And that I didn't know what a bowl cozy was at the time. And when I found out, I was like, oh my gosh, these are so cool. I want a bowl cozy. So I did all the research and I cite science for you so that you know that you're making the right decision, and you should know that you're making the right decision. That's my philosophy. You met me in Santa Clara. You guys have certainly had your share of fires. Oh my gosh. That show used to be so amazing. One year in my booth, here's a story you don't need to know, but it's kind of interesting. I had a lady. So Miss Cheryl Land, you're a long-time lurker, huh? So how'd you know my birthday's? Oh, because of Facebook tells you when my birthday is. I forgot. Oh, we've got this thing still sitting there. I have no idea where that is in the feed now. Got it? I'll switch. There we go. This is a new feature that they have, but I'm new to this altogether, so. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? Let's see. I'm going to do something I haven't done before, which I set up today. Where is that? Oh, it's here. They should have all of these things on one spot. There you go. Whoopsie. I know I was about to say something and totally forgot. So, it's 5. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. So what we were just using was our Octi-Hoops. And people mispronounce it and say Octi-Hoops, and we know what you mean. And 3 hours is a long time to be on, and I'm going to end. Did you guys get a chance to do that so I can hang up? I know our newsletter, when we send the newsletter out and it stopped working. It's something I need to get my son on. He's the techie. It broke. So every time I do a newsletter, it's not updating on our site. However, I'll just give it to you now. I'll give you today's newsletter link. This is what happens at shows. You guys will keep me for 7 hours straight. One time there was a show. Oh, I know what I was going to say before now. I was at a show and people were not wanting me to stop. And I looked around and there weren't vendors in the booths. And this was a show where after the show's over, you could have a class in your booth. And I didn't know. I had been an hour after the show had already closed. And they were like, oh, we thought you knew. And I was like, I gotta go. I'm hungry. So let's see. I was going to get the newsletter link for you because I did announce it today. I shared it in the school. So that's why the school's so great, because I can just dump things in there real quick and easy. This is the newsletter. Pretty sure. That's the daily drawing link. That didn't work. So, Lilo, she needs to call me. I tried calling her twice. Where is this? Some of you I know by name. Here it is. This is my newsletter. Hi, Chase. Chase is saying, it's time for my dinner. You have violated the puppy mommy. You have violated the puppy dinner time rules that he sets. Okay. This is the last thing I'm going to do, and then I'm going to have to say goodbye. And know that we may take as long as till Monday to ship all the Octi-Hoop orders because we've had so many sales over the announcement of the decrease in price, which I can honestly tell you I started crying when we went over the prices a few times, and my son's like, you absolutely can lower it that low. And I'm like, are you sure? Because this means that people that, this is the number one complaint we've had about the Octi-Hoops is that they were too expensive. So a bunch of orders came in a really short amount of time, and I'm teaching you live right now. And because of the COVID restrictions getting heightened, I'm back to being alone here, just so that you all know I'm safe. And because also my assistant got a better job, and I always encourage my workers, if they can get a better job, to do that. I'm happy for her. Ah, I'm probably going to get someone that, never mind, you don't need to know that what I'm doing on that. Don't worry about me. As long as you can be patient and wait for your orders. And I appreciate all your patience and all these years of your support, your patronage, and being my students. 32 years. And that's the same age as my daughter. I think she's about to turn 32. Because I was 6 months pregnant when I started my company. It was not necessarily easier to have someone read the comments, Susan, because she didn't necessarily know the answer. And what happens is she'll say the question and I'm in the middle of a thought and then I forgot what I was going to say. It's entertaining to have someone else read for me. And there's other ways I might be able to do that. Have someone remotely talking into my ear, which I love not having to wear the headphones, and everything's been working great. I'm really happy with how it's working. We save the questions for the end. I do all the teaching, and I'm not seeing your name yet in here, but I may see it in the group. So let's see. They keep changing Facebook, and it's not easier for me. I have the hardest time just getting to my own page. So if you have trouble getting to my page, know that I have trouble getting to my page as well. Even though I can see it and I'm clicking on the link, it doesn't open. I have too many pages is what it is. Oh, and it's really slow right now because we're live on Facebook. So in the comments, see, I only see 2 comments. So the only place I can see your comments is inside of the chat. That's why it's important to, don't worry, there's going to be a show every Thursday. Your chances of winning, go up. There's minky flying in the air. I am going to go. I'm starting to lose it. I'm hungry, and it's time for the dogs and me to eat dinner. I love you all so much. I really do. I enjoy hanging out with you, but this is too long. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel and you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the like button. I really appreciate it if you do that. If any of you did any super chats, know that I can't see them all the time while I'm sewing and stuff. I can't keep up, and I will send you your thank yous and appreciate that help. That will help us get another camera and give you better coverage when I'm teaching things. And with that, I love you all so much. Bye. Mwah.